Good morning, and it is showtime, right? Not a rainy Sunday morning comic book show, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless if you really like comics and stuff because this is a haul video. And for over the years that I've, over the years and stuff, I've gone to a lot of the same flea markets, around the southwestern Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, Southern West Virginia, Northern North Carolina, right where Alabama and Atlanta connect, things like that, all over the place. You see me go to the same ones, right? And I got to tell you, man, I went to Hillsville. If you saw the last live show, and there was some keys there that I got for 88 cents a pop to where you really need to go see that one, right? That was probably like the May comic book haul of 2024, right? And then this one was on fire too. I went to Dublin, Virginia, and I also hit a pawn shop. So I may show some magazines there and stuff, right? And I did the math for everything I'm going to show you, which I'll mention a couple times throughout this, because this is what I'm really excited about, right? It's one thing to go out and find a bunch of key books and have the glory of the hunt, and if it's good reading, that's a double whammy, you know what I'm saying? But this time it's full of things that I couldn't, this was cookie cutter made for me because I wasn't really thinking about going. I'm doing this thing again, right? About the last 5 years and things, a lot of things, a lot of these flea markets and things, they're still pretty good stuff, but they're starting to dry up. Not as many vendors and stuff, right? Not this year, sir. I think it was the weather. Dublin Flea Market was on fire. You go out there, you pay $2 to get in. It's all outside. The weather is beautiful. Tons of people were there. Saw some people I hadn't seen in years on the flea market circuit and stuff like that, which was amazing. Great to see everybody. And then I kept finding things and getting these great deals, right? And to give you an idea of what it is, I'm not the biggest CGC graded kind of guy. And I showed this to a buddy of mine when I came back and had him guess how much I paid for them. And I turn around and I'll be showing these, right? But here's just JLA by Grant Morrison, JLA number 7, JLA number 8. And I'll be showing them on Comic Cam, but they're 9.8s. And I think these are like original CGC labels. Originally, the guy was like, I was like, I'm not really into this, and I know these are probably worth more money because they're graded, but what, just for curiosity, how much you want to sell them for? And they said $5 a piece. So after I got a little bit of a haul in there and everything I want to show you, it came to like $1 a piece for these, right? So I showed them to my buddy on the way home, and he guessed it right. He was like, probably $10 or something like that. So I don't know how the CGC thing really works to where he knew that something so specifically what it was. So I'll be showing those. And that's the kind of deals of the things I found, right? So basically, here we are. This is the comic book haul from June 1st, 2024, with the beautiful weather, the popping, big, huge flea market that was just fantastic. I haven't seen one that good since about 2018 or 19. Yeah, and that's what I remember well because I made a mistake. The very last guy that I saw that had comics, he had the red label Unity number 0 from Valiant. And he had the two very, very expensive Harbinger number 0 pink covers. And I got them confused in my head that were $1 a piece. And I didn't realize it till I got home. And I lived about an hour away at the time. Should have went back. So let's see who is here. Because it is, like I said, June 2nd. This is stuff I bought June 1st in the year of our Lord, 2024. It is 9:57 a.m. in the p.m. for you beautiful people in the future. And as you can tell, this just puts me in a good mood. There's nothing like a great sunny day, walking around finding great comic books with friendly people and seeing, it just blew my mind, so. Oh man, we have tons of people here already, so I cannot wait to pull out Comic Cam, making an appearance, and seeing who's here. John C. Good morning, John C. Now, everybody, I'm going to be going to the beach later in the month, and that will be throughout a weekend. So make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you share all these live shows and videos while they're going on and in the future afterwards and stuff. Because we talk comics here. We speak the real language of comics here. And make sure you hit the bell when you subscribe to be notified of everything. Because usually I do these Sunday morning, but with me going to the beach and things like that, I could pop on here anytime. I'm a busy guy. And it really makes me sad that that sounds like I'm bragging, but sorry, but a lot of that busy is things I would rather not be doing. So this would be great to just, talk comics at least, an hour or two every day. That would be fantastic. So make sure you hit the bell. Victor Shea, good morning, sir. Certainly, Tim, man, you are just on a roll with popping up, man. All right, from the start, you are here. That is fantastic. We'll make it fun. Paolo's here, foreign correspondent and frequent guest here on this show here. So hopefully we can get him and I don't want to say his real name and another person there, Gore Vidal. Maybe we can get Gore Vidal there. I've talked to him enough through emails and stuff. I'm starting to refer to him as his real name. JLA by Grant Morrison. Now, that was a great read. Yes, it was. It was fantastic. Even if those stories in particular feature Electric Superman, I've been very forgiving because Grant Morrison acknowledged that it kind of messed up some of his plans. And when Superman did return in the Superman suit proper, he did give a little scene there to make it an event, as much as he could. Yeah. That Electric Superman, man, it's been 28 years or something like that, and I'm still like, what the hell, which is kind of funny because Morrison made better use of Electric Superman's powers than the Superman writers. Yes, he did. That's why it took some of the sting was kind of gone. Yeah. Less is more sometimes, Hell, I paid $2 each out of discount boxes. Now, some of this stuff was $2 a piece. Some of this stuff, as I get into it, as I can remember, this is as a whole after I did the math. I'll kind of throw out what I remember and stuff. Comic Crack. Make sure you guys, go ahead and Comic Crack, plug your stuff. Comic Crack, if you guys are doing your show today, throw it out there. I'll read it. If you're doing your review show late on a Sunday night here, pretty sure we're in different time zones. Throw it out there, man. I'll give it a shout out to everybody. Check out the Comic Cracks channel. All right, Gore Vidal. Everybody say good morning to Gore. Yes, Gore. I was at the flea markets and took the family out to a carnival last night. I'll be reading your emails later this afternoon. Catching up. Hope the move went well. Oh, hello. How's your dumb phone working out there these days? Last week, I think a week or two ago, the last live stream was a nightmare. And that's why I started about 8 minutes late. I double checked everything. We should be good, sir. We should be good. Let's not jinx it, though. All right. And sometimes, a very bad carpenter will blame his tools. I'm assuring you that is not what's going on. I will walk around with blood on my hands and be like, "It was me. It was me." No. All right. So let's bring in Comic Cam. It is that time. We're going to get right to it. The dumb phone is a reference to my email about using the flip phones. Oh yes, flip phone. I had a flip phone up until about 2017 or 18. I fought it. Okay, let's jump in here because all right. So I got quite a few things to show. We're going to be back and forth and stuff, right? So, like I said, in the total of money that I spent, I did have a little bit of a budget in mind, and I had a little bit of. I was trying to have a little bit of what is the word? Discipline, if you will, right? A little bit of discipline because, like, I read the comics, okay, and I can enjoy an I'll give things a chance. I love when they're offbeat. There's little gems out there. They don't have to be worth money. You should know this by me by now. And this time I was like, discipline, Tim. You're running out of room. You're going to run out of room, right? There's going to have to be a purge, right? And then I walk around and I see these great things. Now, these, like I said, with the total of what I spent, everything to $1 a piece. I think we got that. So I found all these $2 a piece. When I showed up at the flea market, over the last 5 years, like I said, the flea market, of course, during 2020 and 2021, it was sporadic who had flea markets and who didn't, who got shut down because of pandemic reasons and stuff. So to see this thing popping, went in underestimating it. I hit one. I knew where the regular vendors were, and what I did is I hit them up real quick, and then I started looking for places where they didn't have comic book boxes. I just sort of saw what they were selling, eyeball to things. So I found these little digest books and little story books. These I paid $2 a piece, but like I said, with the math of everything in total, $1 a piece is what it came to. Grimm's Fairy Tales. This is the late '70s. These little books are fantastic. There's many things I left behind that maybe I should have went and got. But like I said, this is copyright 1976, and this is little prose, right? Little stories, a little soft cover storybook, right? Flirting with the firing at the ghostly wagon. Love these things, man. I'm telling you, man, if it's from the '70s, when it comes to comics, Bronze Age is my favorite, right? I love my '80s comics. I love the cream that has risen to the top during the '90s. I love comics in general. Don't get me wrong, right? Um, there's times I prefer the Jack Kirby Stanley Fantastic Four run than anything that's been put out in the last almost 40 years. You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong, but stuff like this from the '70s, you know, 4 years old in 1977, and I had stuff like this all over the place, right? And then we have my favorite form of comic when I was a kid, the digest, right? Adventure Comics went into digest. We had I'll show you some of those. We had things like this. We had the DC Blue Ribbon Digest. Absolutely love these, right? So here's something from the mid '70s here, right? We have the Digest Comics. Edgar Rice Burroughs presents Tarzan with that glorious Joe Kubert cover. Now, I can't believe I found this for $2. And like I said, it's a little beat up, but this has I thought I was going to be reading the stuff that Joe Kubert did, and it turns out I think this is from the Gold Key stuff. And then I about fell down because this is from 1972. I didn't know they had digest comics going that far back. So I had a bunch of these Gold Key comics, and I sold them or traded them. I traded them, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago because they were a little bit musty, and I was trying to just every now and then I'll just hit this thing where I'm like, what am I really going to read? What am I going to keep? So it was really cool to find this. $2. Love this stuff, right? And then I'm having a problem finding this on my CLZ app to catalog, which is no big deal, but I'm not huge into war comics. I'm not huge into Western comics. But the thing about it is if I do find one, it becomes a favorite of mine, right? I'm not big into Western movies, but what is that? Charles Bronson with the Samurai, Red Sun. I think that's a classic. I think that's what it's called. That's what I'm trying to say. A good story is a good story, but just because it's of the genre, I'm not into it, right? So this is Sergeant Rock's Prize Battle Tales, and this actually kind of confused me for a minute because he actually has a one-shot comic called the same thing, and I thought maybe this was just a digest version of it, right? So this has stories from 1957 all the way up to about 1979 when this was put out. And I'm telling you, man, a good Sergeant Rock story, when it hits, it hits. Okay. These war books were all over the place because the uncle was in Vietnam as a truck driver. So Unknown Soldier was a huge one in the house that I really enjoyed when I have to go back to it. The Losers, things like that. And of course, Sergeant Rock was a staple, right? So we found those, right? So now I'm going to check comments, and then I want to show you, take a break from the flea market stuff for a minute. And we're going to talk about a few little Wizard magazines in a comic scene I found at a pawn shop of all things. And yeah, I'm messing with a light over here to try to get on these comics because I'm in a room that is downstairs with one window. And over the years, if you've watched me, lighting issues or something I neglect here. Man, all kinds of people here. Great comments. Let's see what's going on. Because I'm telling you, man. All right, Comic Crack. We were talking about his shows. Thank you for replying so I can plug you on your channel, more or less. No show this afternoon, unfortunately. Might do one tonight, though, so make sure you're subscribed to Comic Crack. I always look at Comic Crack as king of the underground comics around here, you know. Love those little Whitman books. Had a bunch of them when we were kids. Oh, absolutely love them. I skipped one too. I absolutely skipped one. Where's it at? I have one more to show. I can't believe I neglected that. Okay. Gorvidal, my local comic book shop, announced a Witchblade exclusive cover by a local artist yesterday. They contacted Image, opened up the contest to everyone. Image approved it yesterday, and an artist was at the told the artists were told at this was told at the shops. That is fantastic. That the comic book shop in 1994 that I went to, that was in a local mall, and Rod and Curtis and all of them were, I can name names and stuff. I knew the people pretty well and got to know the owner, who shut down the shop because he was a teacher and that was more of his passion after a year. He decided he wanted to continue teaching and didn't realize the shop was going to take so much time. But he encouraged people to bring in their artwork, and he had behind the counter was a wall full of local people, local artwork, and then these Wizard magazines and stuff. People were encouraged. It used to be a creative hobby, man. The hobby, it was like great rock and roll, right? You could listen to certain bands and like Kiss, I think, in my opinion, and you would go out and you would not get a nice guitar, maybe strum it and then hang it up or for display or store it away, or you listen to something like punk and stuff that was angry and stuff, and you would get that guitar out and you would beat it up trying to learn how to play it and everything like that. Pixies and things like that. I mean, there was a difference. Metal made people want to go out and play their guitar and things like that. And then that's how comics used to be. It used to make people want to be creative and have those dreams of maybe drawing stuff, or they just loved these characters and it was just something they could do with a pencil. So that is fantastic. I love stories like that. Oh, I can't wait. I need an update. You have to update me on that. I will buy that Witchblade or find a way to get it. 3-year anniversary. That is fantastic. That is amazing. It was free to artists. That is great. Digest size, or as other countries call them, comics regular size. Oh, wow. This is why it's important to have a foreign correspondent around to blow our minds with ideas like that. Yes, Terrence, Beth, and Steven, the owners, have done something quite amazing locally. That is fantastic. Looks like Russ Manning, Tarzan at the Digest. Awesome stuff. Oh, I just assumed it was Cubert. I bet it is Russ Manning. Yeah. I will check that out. I will look that up. Thank you for pointing that out. Usually I sit down and I study these books and stuff. Oh. I believe Digest made it easier for some retailers to carry comics. They didn't take much space from actual reading material, and they were kept on a low level so kids could see them. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember the thing was the size of my hands. You had the Treasury editions, which were huge, and that was fantastic. And then you had the Digest versions that were just even better. You could just lay on the couch or sneak and read in the bed at night. Yep. So good to hear. One of my local shops has really gone and supporting local artists as well. Great to see. Love it. Right now, the local artists around here are doing cryptic stuff, cryptic creatures, things like that. I mean, I think we're 2 to 3 hours from. Oh God, I'm going blank on it. The Mothman town, Point Pleasant, or is that it? Wait a minute, or is that where that 70s show takes place? I don't know. Let's get a drink of coffee. I hope people find it entertaining when my wires cross in my head. So there's got half my books. Fantastic. Look at this. The Great Legend. Good morning, Tim. Great to catch you live. Great to see you here, Legend. Fantastic to see you. It's got to be early out there in Texas, my friend. All right. Happy Sunday indeed. Holy crap. Comic Scene, the best magazine about comics, even with the movie. Yeah. Even with all the movie content. Yes. Oh, I have several of these, right? This was, I will talk about it here. All right, Legend. Man, I'm so glad to see you. Legend. People need to be reminded sometimes who the OGs and stuff in the comic book community are and who are still around. There's so few of us and stuff, right? All right. Everybody say good morning to the Legend. Okay, guys, want to move kind of quick through these. I'll get you a copy, Tim. Will be published in July. Absolutely, man. And and I will be paying for it at the shipping. I appreciate it very much. I insist. The owner wants to go. Stephen, the owner, wants to give away at one point Hulk 181. His wife Beth and I are the only reason he hasn't done it yet. I mean, how can you top it? Absolutely. All right. I'm glad the legend feels loved. I'm glad he feels loved. All right, guys. Here we go. So it's amazing because here lately, and I don't think it's I don't think it's I don't know, a trend, if you will. I don't think it's like a flash in the pan. I don't think it's the thing, but I'm seeing more and more content come up with Wizard, right? And I tried to bring up Wizard years ago, right? Probably like 2012, 2013, talking about it, bringing it up. I still have, oh my God, like 169, 170 issues of Wizard. I was there, right? I didn't discover Wizard until 1992 when a friend of mine popped up with that issue #1, and I was a comic scene nut. Okay, because you could find these at grocery stores. You never knew when they were coming out. I liked the magazine format. I was loyal to it, if you will. And I would come to love Wizard magazine as well until they split. They got greedy. We got, what was it, Inquest for cards, and then they did Toy Fair. So they went from one magazine that was packed to where they diluted their brand and had a book about cards and had a book about toys and made it separate from the comics where you had all that stuff in there. And I may be able to show you the big thing. And I know there's been channels over the last couple of years who would take Wizard issue one by one and go through them. There's a podcast YouTube channel going on. I have them on Facebook that they do it. I don't really watch their show, but they do get people who worked at Wizard at the time to come on and talk about behind the scenes stuff. So there is a community. That's better way to put it. There is a community out there that is talking Wizard. And some guy popped up in my algorithm last night. I can look at my history, and he was talking about Wizard and the price guide and everything like that. So, you know, to see people getting to go back and dig and try to act like Wizard and these things are, you know, just new to people and stuff. You know, I know it is for some people and stuff, but I'm real lucky to have been there. No internet, and this was the news. Now, let's get back to comic scene. This is a beat up copy from 93. Let me look here. I have several of these, right? But this was exciting. It says 92, but that doesn't sound right to me, but I guess it is, right? So anyway, when you would have this covered a lot of stuff, and the comic scene is the one that if you see one, you really need to get it up there. Al Gordon, Jerry Ordway, Wizard was in full force. We were about to get Hero Illustrated, and win a free Spider-Man video game, Bean World. This is where I found The Crow. You know what I'm saying? This is where I would look on the back page and see the pages and pages of movies that were in development, that were pop culture and comic book referenced. I followed the Sergeant Rock movie and the Watchmen movie since about 1989. And for you guys that don't know, they originally wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to be Sergeant Rock. And then they talked about Bruce Willis for a while, and you got it all in comic scene. Some of these things never came to fruition. But this one is very close to my heart because I thought I was crazy. Years ago, I talked about Hepcats, 12 issues of Hepcats, an indie book that came out. You had funny animal heads on real people, but this was slice of life stuff, and it was a little bit heavy and stuff. Snowblind should be a classic tale, you know, should be required reading. And I thought I was crazy because I was like, I had an interview. I knew what he said about the story, the creator and all this stuff, right? And it turns out it was in this. I found out I had this comic scene and it's not here. I don't know. So I was so glad to find this, right? And these were $1 a piece in a pawn shop right outside of the town that I've lived in. So, let's see, between where I worked and where I traveled, I had probably passed this pawn shop up on the side of the highway hundreds of times over the last 9 or 10 years, and finally went in there and they had guns. It's a converted trailer. Number one is one of the reasons I didn't go in there, but you go in there, it's high tech, cages everywhere. You cannot, you know, I felt like I was in some kind of military vehicle and stuff. And all of a sudden, amidst all of the hunting equipment and the guns and all this stuff like that, there's a stack of Wizards in this comic scene. So I grabbed some for myself and my buddy out there, right? So anyway, I knew I wasn't crazy because this is how I got my encyclopedic knowledge, I've been told. about comics and stuff because I read this stuff too, editorials, interviews. I would read and reread them. Comic Scene was, to me, I do prefer Comic Scene over Wizard because Wizard gets a little snarky. They got a little bit of a sense of humor. It's a fun book, right? And this is where they have a little bit of fun. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to the interviews and the information, it's much like most of Tomorrow's publishing today and stuff. They stay on track. It's well researched and stuff because I think this book probably was bi-monthly or quarterly or something. I don't know. You would just go to the grocery store, look around the magazines, and it would magically appear. There it is. So yeah, we got some stuff on. This was the good stuff. Talking a little bit about Doctor Strange, Bean World. I'd already discovered Bean World in the late 80s and stuff. I now have some Bean World, but this is the stuff that you would get. You would have little pictures at conventions and stuff for creators and stuff. You got to know a little bit about the creator. You got to know a little bit about the book, and it didn't feel like marketing, right? Wizard Magazine, in my opinion, started, you could tell they had some kind of relationship because, one of the ones I want to show you, or one I bought from my buddy, it's an Alan Moore interview. Alan Moore had not been interviewed by Wizard in years, but all of a sudden ABC Comics gets bought out by DC through Wildstorm when they purchased Wildstorm. And all of a sudden, Alan Moore is doing this short interview that's not very... it doesn't go very much in depth, but then all of a sudden we know all about the ABC Comics, America's Best Comics. This stuff right here was about comics, okay? Joker's Keeper. You get your Batman animated stuff, just anything and everything that was fantastic, big, bold with the covers. And here it is, the Martin Wagner. This is the interview I was trying to remember in my head and dig out years ago when I talked about Hepcats. So you guys may be hearing about Hepcats. I absolutely love Hepcats. Definitely for adults. I feel like I'm sliding around, but anyway, you can hear how excited I get just flipping through an issue of Comic Scene. But like I said, they really take their time. It's very informative. And then here's some Jerry Ordway Wildstar. And I feel very bad about when this came out because there was starting to be a trope. We had Venom with his, we had Venom, we had Spawn, and then we had Wildstar. And what they were doing is there became a trope about the symbiotic relationship between more or less your costume being alive and the character. And Wildstar just kind of came out and this little starfish, I can't remember, alien or something. I haven't read this since it came out back in 92 or 93. Anyway, he wanted a purpose for the costume, and it turns out it's alive. I'm just sort of like another one. But you get the point. And usually in the back, I don't know if they have it, but when you get towards the back of the book, it's just straight up. Yeah, here it is. Comic screen, right? This is just a page of them going alphabetically through all the movies that are in production, where they're at, and the new information of where they were at with certain movies. So, yeah, oh man, this is big. Zorro at one point was going to be directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Andy Garcia and Nancy Lawson. That didn't happen, and it would be several years before we got the Antonio Banderas. And this is what I'm saying. There's stuff in here. Spider-Man, 1993, in production. Sergeant Rock. And now they have Joel Silver and Robert Zemeckis attached through Warner Brothers. This is how I followed this stuff and kind of kept into the know of what was going to come out. That, to me, is what made Comic Scene one more great thing, right? So let's just put that to the side. But yeah, I have several of these, and I recommend you picking them up, right? So here's the Wizards I got for $1. I already have this one, but I wanted the X-Files cover. And this is in the years. I think the first 5 years of Wizard are untouchable. I really do. They had advertisements. They had covers that they really got noticed when they mixed it up with a cover where they had Rob Liefeld draw it, and they had Shaft from Youngblood and Cable from Marvel, of course, on the same cover of Wizard Magazine. And Marvel was like, hey, now let's not do that again. And they got noticed. That somehow made news, however news traveled back then, right? But here's issue 52. My favorite issue of Wizard that I may pop out, and I'm sure some other channels probably went through it, is number 60, the 5th anniversary, because they had several pages where they go through what was going on from 1991 to 1995 in comic books. And They give 1991 its own pages and go through it chronologically, and then they start in 1992 and they tell you what was going on in the world and in comics. Fantastic. To me, that's the best issue of Wizard ever out of how many more they did. And like I said, they eventually got more and more into comic book movies and stuff, right? But this is before they had Toy Fair. We had our first look at Kingdom Come. That was coming up. You used to get pages of this. They would do casting calls. They were kind of snarky in some of their lighthearted, approach to talking about indie comics and little snippets of news that were coming out about certain creators at a time. You got to know Gareb Shamus, the owner. Just great stuff, man. They had some of the best letter columns out there that was there. So pick you up an issue of Wizard. I would say definitely from the first 100 issues. If you can get from 60 back to see what they were coming up. X-Files. I don't know. I'm glad we never, that I know of, ever had a name, but I was an X-Files nut. I still have my TV guides and Rolling Stones, a few DVD sets. VHS tapes I would watch over and over because I would be working in a group home, and luckily they had a VCR at the group home, and I would record X-Files. They used to be from Friday night originally to Sunday, or the other way around. Anyway. So yeah, I would watch those tapes, and now I can't really sit down to watch X-Files like I used to, because once the show gets started, I remember almost every line of dialogue. There's no other show I'm completely like that. It just happened on its own. And I was one of the people that joined the letter campaign that I didn't know what was going on. When they canceled X-Files during that first year, I actually wrote a letter to a TV station in Kentucky that was carrying it to get it back on, help get it back on. It didn't help, I don't know. And then like I said, it was all about comics. They would bring in comic book creators, and you would get, this is Greg Capullo, and they would give you drawing lessons in them. They've actually collected these and put them out as their own magazine. They collected them from all the Wizard magazines, and those things are pricey, my friends. And then we get to what I was really wanting to show about the sense of being in a comic book community back then, before there was really a way for people to really find each other without a comic book shop or a comic book convention. They had art contests. They had you could send in your envelope and have envelope art it, and then they would have people come in doing their mock-up of covers and stuff, right? See if they have the envelope art yet. And what was great, you really had to pay attention to the letters column, because you would have comic book creators write in a letter, and they would do it. Bunny awards, little characters. Yeah, well, not much here, but there's some great envelope art also. But there's all kinds of things in there. Dale Keown getting interviewed, talks about things. This is fantastic. Yeah, here's a little Alan Moore for you in this one. Tales from the Crypt, Alan Moore. This is where I reference a bunch of stuff from Alan Moore, these interviews in these magazines, and I try to cite them. So we got that one, number 52. This is number 200. I've never read this one. 200 greatest characters of all time. Who's number one? They would do that. Alex Ross covers. These are doubles for me because as soon as I got it home, I actually ripped one of these. But this is his Kingdom Come up against his Earth X characters on this cover. They've done specials where Alex Ross had his own Wizard 2000 special, where it's all about Alex Ross and interviews in the room he had at the time. Alex Ross, Batman versus the Villains. These are to be studied. They're not. Then we have Wizard number 50, a little bit beat up. One page is ripped out, and hopefully, luckily, it is complete. I can't tell you about this. But anyway, there was other things you had with Wizard Magazine, is that you could order certain cards through them as a promotion, and they had their famous Wizard half issues. I need to move on. I'm getting stuck on Wizard here and stuff, right? Interview with Paul Smith. Holy crap. I didn't know that was in here. Yeah, Paul Smith, one of my favorites, man. And he's the only reason I'm still on X, to be honest with you. Anyway. We need to move on. And this is the one that I'm expecting to pop up in the wrong box or something, but I have a huge run. And right in the middle of that run, number 73 disappeared. And I know I had this because I remember the cover. I remember most of my books. Most importantly, I actually ordered the Sin City half issue. I have it in my collection through Wizard at the time, and you have to rip out the envelope to send it. So yes, I have it somewhere. I was not crazy. They had that for $1. And I got my buddy Josh 10 of those. They're upstairs. We're going to be having a meet up for dinner later this week, and Josh will get his 10 books if he's watching there. Um, yeah, he's a younger guy, so he got a wizard at a flea market a few weeks ago. I was like, man, I wish they had that around here now. So if you have fond memories of Wizard, let me know. And I would love to know the difference between were you there and are you just now discovering it and stuff, right? So let me check this out. Man, yeah, I can talk. God, I love how like I don't talk about comics that much, and then when I get on here, it just all comes out. Here we go. I have a. Oh, wait a minute. Make sure we're starting at the beginning. Oh man. All right. I just got hit with more comments. It just uploaded. All right. Hulk 181, second appearance of the Hulk. That 180 is a cameo. I'm glad people are coming around. Had a Facebook. Oh, they're talking about 181, 180. No, those are the ones in this thing. There we go. Grateful to Comic Scene for introducing me to the upcoming Eagle Comics publication of Judge Dredd and Capital and Nexus. Yes, there was when I read those, that's where I read for the first time about those books. Like I said, my biggest memory is the Crow, finding the Crow there. And I think I showed it somewhere the last couple months. Comic Scene was the only magazine that did more than one page on European comics, color magazine. When they had a piece, of course, European meant mostly Mobius. Oh, I have the comic scene with all the Mobius Marvel pinups that he did. Punisher, Iron Man, things like that. I cut out a Bud Plant catalog ad in order to get those comics and several others, including American Flag, E-Man, Captain Victory, and John Sable. And that reminds me, I need to try to send off my Captain Victory books to be bound. I haven't got a reply to my email in several months. I've probably backed up. Yeah, comic shop. I need to catch up on some Comic Scene magazines. They were great. If you can find them, like I showed you what's in them. They also covered Disney stuff, Don Bluth films if they came out, animated stuff. Animation. Tiny Toons. I remember hearing about Tiny Toons before they came out. They showed some of the artists working on some stuff. Like I said, if you were there in that era, it was fantastic. And like I said, I liked it more than Wizard. And I love Wizards, so that's not slamming Wizards. Good morning, John C. Sorry for late reply. I had to change to my iPad. Yep, that happens. I have a Brazilian wizard that had an exclusive Alan Moore interview, never appeared in the U.S. edition. Oh, man, you've got to show me that. You've got to show me that. I want pictures. I'm just saying, scans, whatever you can get. I love the thumbnail. I got a laugh out of it. I don't know where I found it, but it's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. I can't take credit for it. I didn't make it. That's why I can say it's fantastic. I saw it, and I'm like, when can I use that? Gillian Anderson, yeah, you ought to. My Rolling Stone Gillian Anderson cover with the creature from the Black Lagoon, one of my prized possessions. Yes, I love Gillian Anderson. She is so good in everything. Great in Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, The Crown, and X-Files. Absolutely. And then I found out she had punk roots in England. Yeah, the '90s was a very confusing time for me, where I'm like, am I getting a celebrity crush? I hadn't had one of those since Linda Carter, I think. I don't know. Oh, Marquet Post. Excuse me. I like how in the 70s it was Linda Carter, 80s the Marquet Post, and then the 90s it might have been Gillian Anderson. The Great Legend, she was also interested in Clive Owen film Shadow Dancer about the IRA. Oh, man. Y'all are getting some good stuff here. Clive Owen. Looks like a fun read. It was. I kind of lost my cool there for a minute. Oh, everybody screenshot this. 200 greatest characters. I didn't see Booster Gold. Gore, I like how you're going across the time zones and poking me. I had a Booster Gold moment that I'm going to. They are thinking about casting the guy who plays, I'm going blank on his name, Homelander in the Boys series. And I watched him on Banshee. TV series I highly recommend if you like things like Walking Tall and you can like suspend some of your disbelief, called Banshee on Cinemax. And they're talking, there's talks of him being Booster Gold, and I'm like, he keeps The Gooster Gold keeps infecting everything that I'm into. This blows my mind. We need something to look at there while I'm doing this. Smart Paul Smith's run on Doctor Strange remains one of his least known treasures. There must be a change, especially if it's the second half of the Roger Stern run. I'm one of those people who completely forgot about it, and I went in there, and I think all I have left are the Secret Wars 2 crossovers. I had several of them, a handful, if you will, not the whole run. All right, you see Fugitoid. You do. I will be talking about that. Wizard was cool. My library got it, and it was free. Oh, you lucky dog. I never read a Wizard magazine. Like I said, somewhere in the first 100 issues, maybe the first 50, definitely the first 60. That 60th, if you can find that 60th on eBay, that Wizard's 5th anniversary edition number 60. Get on eBay, not eBay, get on YouTube. I'm sure somebody's walked through the Wizard stuff. I'll send you a link, Gore. If I can remember, I'll send you a link to a video or two if I'll do some digging. Please remember to like this video. Thank you there, buddy. All right. That's enough talking. Let's get into some comics here. I mean, keep them together here. All right. I don't think I mixed them up too bad. We'll show you the Fugitoid later here. Sorry about the glare. So these were dollar bin books, right? And of course, I got the, there's two places. One came to $40. They gave me something like a 30. We went down to like $30. And then there was something like where I got like, I don't know, I was able to go through and will and deal with the guy and was able to bust it down to a certain amount of money. I can't remember. Like I said, in the morning, I didn't try because I didn't think there was going to be a lot of stuff. As I went through, I started making deals and stuff, right? So this is a fantastic, right? These are out of dollar boxes. And yes, I got some kind of deal on them. Usually I remember this stuff. I don't think there's anything substantial. I think I ended up paying maybe $15 for this whole stack. I don't know. Anyway, but this is something I didn't know about. This is a Terminator one-shot. From 1990, I think, early Dark Horse, early for Terminator, I believe, early-ish, if you will, with the licensed property. Went from Now Comics to, which I have here, to Dark Horse. So this is from 1991. James Robinson, who would go on to do the Golden Age miniseries with Paul Smith. There's a lot of Paul Smith references in some comics I'll show by him in this. And then we also had Matt Wagner, of Mage and Grendel fame, and if you will. And they come out and I didn't know about this one shot. I had to look it up. So as I was flipping through this to see if I had it, something very cool happened here, right? Right in the middle of the book. Let me get it out. Let me find the page. So right in the middle of the book, first of all, I was going to buy this. There was no doubt, but I wanted to look at this because I'd never heard of this. James Robinson, before he was famous, he was probably about 30 when this came out. And then we had Matt Wagner drawing the Terminator as well. And then all of a sudden, when you open it up in the middle of the book, it's a pop-up. We have a Terminator popping up out of the book. For the page, the cops are shooting at him. Like you said, nice shiny paper in great condition. And we have the Terminator popping up out of the page. See the face? Look at that. That not cool? In 1991. Yeah. And that before all the gimmicks really started. So yeah, I have a pop-up book with the Terminator, popping out of the book, right? Let me back up. I forgot to show this book. This is a $2 pocket book, if you will, a collector's album. His early adventures, Too Mighty to Triumphs of Today. I paid $2 for this, right? But I constantly talk about the first time I read Spider-Man. It was in one of these books, and it was Spider-Man number 14, where he's in the cave running from the Hulk and stuff, right? So these came out, believe it or not, this came out in 1966. So that explains a lot of reason why I can't really find them. But basically, they just sort of took the Jack Kirby and the Hulk stories, if you will, from the comics. We got a black and white edition, and they just pasted them in any way, shape, or form to get all the full art in the book. And I absolutely love these. These were some of this, like I said, my first Spider-Man stories that I can recall by Ditko. This is what I was reading. Yeah. So yeah, Man, I love these. I'll pick these up all day. I would pass up comic books to get these. Okay. So anyway, it's moving on. Uh, this is my second or third issue of this. When Now Comics hit the newsstands, it seems like it was 1989 for me. I'm not sure, right? So while I was busting through there checking out this great art, 1990, maybe, checking out books, they had Fright Night, but that was too cartoony. I couldn't believe there's a Terminator book, but the art was too cartoony, right? There was Rust. I was getting Rust because it was watercolor. There was a Married with Children book I wished I would have gotten, right? Passed up the Fright Night, which was a mistake, and my brother was getting Ralph Snart, which was a mistake, right? So for the guy who was like George Perez, John Byrne, Jack Kirby, and things like that, my elitism that I didn't know I was possessing made me pass up a lot of stuff. So, of course, I would pick up Alex Ross before we knew Alex Ross, but we have a guy coming out doing photorealistic stuff with the Terminator. So, this is Alex Ross's first published work, The Terminator of the Burning Earth. It's probably my third or fourth copy. And it was a 5-issue miniseries. I left behind number 3. Go figure, right? So number 5 disappeared from my collection. I don't know if I sold it or what I did or gave it away or something, but his experience, a very young Alex Ross, his experience at Now Comics did not go well. So you can look this up online, but we have, looking through the eye of the Terminator, we have all this data here, right? But if you look real close, it says Now, reading backwards from right to left, Now Comics blows. He put a little Easter egg in there in the middle finger to Now Comics, based out of Chicago, if I remember, right? And then I got this. I don't understand it. I was a fan of Danger Mouse, thanks to Nickelodeon, guys. We got cable in 1985. And Danger Mouse, of all things, from Nickelodeon, of course, it was an imported cartoon from England. Don't get me wrong. I know, but I'm still a huge Danger Mouse fan. I luckily have a picture of myself with somebody who actually cosplays as Danger Mouse. I had the VHS tape. Somewhere around here, I think I have a DVD set, right? But all of a sudden, Danger Mouse slowly disappeared after they showed the episode on Nickelodeon where this guy cameoed. And they even changed him for his own show and became Count Duckula. So this is the 13th issue of Marvel Comics putting out Count Duckula, not under their Star brand. And you can see this was originally $10. I have one other issue where they have a Freddy Krueger-like character in it, number 9 or 10 or something. But I've been looking these up, and if you have a whole set, these go for like $126, $130 online as of June 1st when I was looking them up, 2024. So for some reason, Count Duckula is it's like Supergirl comics and Bondage comics and Shark comics and stuff. Apparently, it has its audience. It has its niche audience. And then I'll pick these up all day long, right? Jim Shooter era Valiants. This was going for $3.95, and like I said, this is where the math kind of gets messed up. I gave the guy this shouldn't be here. Wait a minute. I think I mixed them up, but we're going to go ahead and go with it, right? That means I can show up some stuff. I've mixed up a dollar box with the guy that I got a great one. It doesn't matter, right? Anyway, but the guy would go through there, and the math in his head, he would cut off half of whatever it was, 4 there. And then that's when he said these books came to $40, and he turned around and gave them to me for, I think 30 is what we came up from. And that was an unbelievable deal, and you'll see why. So number 9 of, I think Don Perlin, Barry Windsor Smith, Jim Shooter, early era of Valiant. I'm telling you, man, the only era of Valiant I really enjoy, and results vary, don't get me wrong, was when Jim Shooter was running this universe, great stuff. The last issue of The Authority by Mark Miller, volume 1 of The Authority. This is number 29. I don't know if it's a valuable book, or what the deal is. And of course, print runs start shrinking as they get towards the end of a series. But this is a fantastic Art Adams cover. I'm a huge fan of this Ellis verse, starting at Stormwatch, Planetary, The Authority. I'm so glad I was there, and of course, thanks to James Gunn saying there might be an Authority movie because that's his dream project when it comes to DC. Yeah, your results vary with everybody trying to get the keys, right? But this is the marriage of Midnighter and Apollo, basically. And I went through this book, and Miller did a pretty good job of picking it up from Ellis and stuff, right? And I am not that big fan of everything that Ellis has written. And early, I think at this time, Ellis had only been in the comics 7 or 8 years. That's what blows my mind. He did a lot of impactful work in a short amount of time back then, which would be 32 years now. Go figure that. Think about that one. Astonishing Tales, 70s horror Marvel book, right? Number 22 with the character of It. Now, I had this in my stack to get, but it was kind of like, do I want this or do I want some of this Swamp Thing? But I had a gentleman followed me around. And I didn't do this to be spiteful or not or anything like that, but for some reason he wanted this book really bad. And I tried to strike up a little bit of a conversation, but he walked up to me 2 or 3 times like, are you going to get that? Are you going to get that? And then a second gentleman came up and asked the same thing. I don't know why. Right. So I went ahead and like, I'm definitely going ahead and getting this. It's obviously going to disappear. This is the kind of stuff that was in the house as a kid. I have a few copies with It in it, and you need to look up official handbook of the Marvel Universe, the Dead and Unliving, if you will, to read a little bit about him. I used to know a little bit more about him, right? And then this was a joy. I can't believe I ended up finding this for $1, right? Shadow number 3. This may have been the first Shadow exposure I ever had as a kid, because I still have the beat up copy that was in my house. And amazingly enough, this early 70s series I had been picking up a little bit here and there to where I'm getting close to having the full run. That's amazing. If I remember right, this is the Mike Kaluta stuff from the early 70s. If you watch certain YouTube videos like Razor Fist, the Rageaholic or whatever, he goes on and on about how the biggest act of plagiarism from the 1940s he ever saw was Batman in the Shadow, things like that. I just, yeah, he pops up in my algorithm. I enjoy, I always say it, I kind of enjoy that channel on an entertaining level, but there's just times he will just go, yeah, I don't agree with everything he says. And, it's a lot. It's a lot sometimes, right? Now, these are $40 books. A lot of people don't realize that. When Lin Wein and Bernie Wrightson came out that volume 1 of Swamp Thing, those books are classic, right? There was a 70s series, I don't know what it's called, DC Star Spectacular. I don't know. I have to look it up. They came out with 2 of them that reprinted in the late 70s. They came out with 2 of these DC specials that reprinted several issues of both of that original run, right? I have those and I left those behind. There was two there from the late 70s. New Barry Windsor. I've been saying Barry Windsor because it's Bernie Wrightson. Anyway, Bernie Wrightson covers on them, and I was lucky enough to get Bernie to sign 1 or 2, both of them. I can't remember, before he passed away. I left those behind. They could have been reader copies, right? Because I chose to get these, and I left out. I have a full run of the Alan Moore series run. I left 2 or 3 of those there to get these, because after he left, after Lin Wein and Bernie Wrightson left, I think it's safe to say that Gary Conway, Gary Conway, whatever you want, Jerry Conway and a few of them, they did their best, I think, but they had no idea where to go, and the horror didn't really become horror. It became like this. It was weird, right? So believe it or not, these books are worth about $40 a piece. In the shape they're in, I would go 30, conservatively 30, right? So I ended up getting 19, 20, and 21. Yes, these are all mixed up. The green labels came from one vendor and then some from the other. So yes, they are mixed up. Excuse me. So yeah, I ended up getting 19, 20, 21. I love Swamp Thing, right? The Saga of the Swamp Thing #1 was there. I left it behind. I regret not getting the first annual. I thought I had it. It was an adaptation of the Swamp Thing movie that came out in 82, 81. Thought I had it, I didn't. Anyway, so that's some Swamp Thing stuff. And I left a ton of stuff behind, to get more eclectic stuff and everything, right? So this, I have a video. I shot a proper video, and my stuff is not current. It doesn't hit the algorithm, and I'm not saying that I have the charisma to make people want to watch me. That's for whatever reason, right? But there's been like 2 or 3 videos I have made that I am disappointed that they didn't hit because I think they're interesting, right? So I did this video a couple of weeks ago, months ago, where I picked out 6 or 7 comics where they take place, in my opinion, as you know, as you look at them, that comics of the big picture. Donatello, the one-shot Jack Kirby verse, where he meets a Jack Kirby and they go into that universe that he's created. The Supreme issue by Alan Moore, where we go into the Kirby verse. Oh my God, why am I going blank here? There's a Star Brand issue where they go into a dream realm and there's a Kirby verse. And one of the people who watched it actually commented and told me Boris the Bear #3 also goes into that Kirby verse. There's people that got it right. It's not an official thing, but I was really kind of sad that that's one. Like I said, it's one of 3 videos I kind of wish popped because I think that's good comic book talk, you know, and stuff like that. But anyway, they said this was one. Well, I don't know if this is the proper one because, guys, when I went to the flea market, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, did not go back to bed, started driving about 15 to 6, got there at 20 till 7. They opened at 7. And by the time I found this guy, it was 12 noon. And I had a hoodie on and the sun was coming out and we were having temperatures of 43 degrees throughout the night and stuff, right? So I was getting a little bit punchy, but I felt good, all right? It's not whining. I was like, first time I've been out proper, second or third time I'd been out, but the first time I was really hitting it really well since my surgery. So I didn't really pay attention that this isn't the proper Boris the Bear series number 3. This is an instant color classic, and with the Marvel characters being satired on here, I wanted to assume this is Boris the Bear #3. Much like the Tick books, they came out with Tick the Chroma Color series where they just reprinted the original Tick black and white but gave them cover. I'm going to assume this is what they did with Boris the Bear. Boris the Bear, I have 2 or 3 issues. Mike Richardson, if I remember, the guy who actually owns and publishes, the owner and publisher of Dark Horse, this was his book that he did, satire and comics and stuff, right? Second issue of this, right? I don't know what has been going on with me over the several years. I still have my Thundercats #1 that I bought, you know, off the comic book rack. I think I found another one or something like that. I don't know. But I have my He-Man comics from the 80s, the DC stuff. I had the little He-Man mini comics that came with the toys and stuff. But there's this 80s licensing thing where I'm like, I'm so down. You know what I mean? Like, I will grab these if they're cheap. Sectars, Power Lords, anything and everything that's there. It's in decent shape. Star Comics, DC, doing their line, whatever. Yeah, I'll pick these up. Turns out this is my second or third Visionaries ones. Ironically, I was a G.I. Joe Masters of the Universe guy. I'm sure I had like the Sergeant Rock figures, Kmart brand Warlord figures, Demos, Hercules, Warlord. My brother lived with his grandparents, so he's the one that would bring down Visionaries. He's the one that would come visit us and bring down Sectars. He's the one that had the metal Voltron toy, the first one to hit America and stuff, right? So he got the good stuff, if you will, in bulk and stuff. And I'm over here with my $5 a week allowance trying to get comic books, candy, movie, and maybe a Star Wars figure every now and then, a He-Man and a G.I. Joe. Now, I will say the G.I. Joe thing lasted up until middle school. Okay, I'm just going to own it there. Great memories. Found this Brat Pack #1, right? I've had issue 3 and 4 forever. It felt like maybe 2-3 years. You know, I've kind of had those laid to the side. I got to find them again. They're somewhere in this mess. Now I found a #1, and this is a proper #1. You need to be careful because apparently they reissued this maybe a year later, I think, right? So this is by Rick Veitch. He's one of the few comic book creators I still have on Facebook because he shows his art and tells stories every now and then. Shares anything that Stephen Bissett and all them will, you know, comic book history and stuff. But I found out when I talk about Brat Pack that came out, that, you know, I remember seeing the advertisements for this probably in Comic Scene, if you will, or something, right? Anyway, but it turns out that what I didn't know, and thanks to people who were there, as I've said many times before, my comic books, I was dependent on the spinner racks, not the direct market, you know. So anyway, but what I come to find out is that Rick Veitch was very bitter towards comics at the time because of DC screwing him over with ending his story on Swamp Thing. So I hear that this is a very, I don't know, It's not the nicest story towards the comic book industry or something. So I'll be interested to see what they're talking about. But of course, with Brat Pack, it's about the hell the sidekicks go through, and that cracks me up because like there's a little bit of the tick there where they talk about sidekicks and stuff, especially when they go to the superhero club. The last issue, Great Legend, you picked a good day to pop up. Great Legend has got to be the greatest Captain Marvel Shazam fan I have ever known, which I respect because I grew up with him since the Filmation TV show. But right here we have number 35, the last and final issue of the Bronze Age series of Shazam after DC had acquired him. It went from the CC Beck stories all the way to where they going blank, where they came in and they had Captain Marvel fighting the devil with an artist who's bringing a much, I keep wanting to say Alois, that it's not him, with a great, more realistic style on Captain Marvel. And if I remember right, these continued in World's Finest in the when it was an anthology series where you bought it for $1, so that's always fun to find. And these are 10 issues that I'm determined to get, right? The 80s stuff, right? I dabbled into Killer Smile in the 90s and stuff, but Concrete, right? I have a few Dark Horse Presents, maybe 3 or 4 with Concrete in it. I think he debuted in Dark Horse Comics Presents #1, but Concrete was, you heard about this through word of mouth, and right here is why. He was winning Harvey Awards. He was winning Eisner Awards. This was the guy that did the Beauty and Beast miniseries with Dazzler and Hank McCoy the Beast. Hank McCoy? Am I getting my Star Trek and my comics mixed up now? Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Anyway, all of a sudden he's at Dark Horse producing art with Concrete, right? Look up Concrete. I'm not going to go into it, but I have a few specials from the 90s and stuff, but he had a 10-issue series for Dark Horse around 87 and 88, I think. So I have issue 8 and 10, and I will be getting the rest of them. I'm determined to get them and in better shape. These are in fantastic shape. I've run across the series, and it just was not worth getting with the shape they were in. And guys, this is one of those things I'm talking about. There are times where it may not be a mistake, but there's certain times that sort of like an OCD thing. I've got to put a cap on this. I need to move on. But I was there with the new universe, and I usually made a joke that I missed out on some other great books that were coming out because I was going to be at a Marvel universe, the new universe from the beginning, because I was not born in 1961. I enjoyed Starbrand. I enjoyed several of those books, Cyforce, DP7. I got what they were doing. I feel without the new universe, we would not have ended up with Valiant behind the scenes and artistically, creatively, right? So anyway, Cyforce was one of the books I liked, and no wonder I liked them because they, to a certain extent, they felt like the Forever People by Kirby. When they would create the Infinity Man, they would produce a Thunderhawk, if you will, right? Thus in the label. So anyway, after a year, they slashed the books in half, and turns out, I've come to with history, they started turning a little bit of a profit on this, but where it was a Jim Shooter creation, everybody was like, just get rid of it. It actually was coming around. That blew my mind. Petty stuff of like it's a Jim Shooter thing, get rid of it. That's what's coming to light. With the things I've read. So anyway, I'm putting a cap on it because I just need a few issues of Cyforce I have the complete run of DP7, complete run of Justice, complete run, one issue out of it, but it's all right. I don't care. Of Starbrand, I got all the #1 issues I kept. I had tons of them and stuff, right? So why am I holding on to New Universe stuff like that? Because, as I've said before, since the decline of quality in a lot of Marvel books and DC books going back at least 9 years, where I can't be forgiving about some things, they're making this new universe look like Shakespeare. Okay, like art-wise, writing-wise, and everything, even with the mess it was. But it really surprised me to find out that, and here's the joke, here's what I love, at the end of every book, they put this tagline on it. Starbrand had 19, okay? But number 32 in a 32 issue limited series. I love that. I think that is hilarious. They did that to all the books that lasted, survived the first cuts, if you will. Great stuff there, right? Okay. Well, guys, I've already mixed it up, so I'm going to go ahead and show these. And guys, I'm going to hold on to. I'm going to hold on. You know, I don't go back and forth just because I find a good deal or I get something in my hands. The graded comic thing, I can see. I'm not a big supporter of it, fan of it, if you will, right? Various reasons, right? But on the other hand, I can see the purpose of somebody getting into comics for the first time. If you take out the greed factor, okay, you take out the greed factor, but you know they don't know what they're buying. They're not real experienced, right? And all of a sudden, you got something you can understand. Like, okay, this comic is in good condition. If I get it, it tells me exactly what it is, right? And like I said, my buddy at the beginning of the show, for you people that weren't here, that weren't here. I want to plug this real quick. I just realized I'm seeing some people talk about New Universe. I have a New Universe live show where I go through all my New Universe books. I think it's the Amazingly Nostalgic New Universe. I had the promotional poster frame that came out unrolled, unfolded. I mean, I'm a fan of it. I was there. You know, I was 13. You know, I mean, of course it had an impact. Anyway, but the graded comics thing. But my buddy who he owns a card shop and comic books also there. You know, it's more of he doesn't get new comics. He'll buy up some back issues, have a few boxes in the back, and he has the comic book supplies, right? But he's a card shop, you know. Anyway, I said, like, guess how much I got these for, and he guessed exactly. And I don't know how he knew, so I don't know what's out there, right? But originally, I got told these. He said $10 a piece. Excuse me, or maybe $10 for both. I can't remember. Anyway, I was offered $5 a piece to buy these. That was the price they wanted, $5 a piece. And after they went through everything I bought from them, they said, "Well, this comes up to $40. Let's just do 30." And I wasn't going to complain because I'm out there on this, right? So these are the original CGC labels. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me when I'm telling tales. And as you can see, they don't get into a lot of significant comic book history in these, as I've seen in other ones. They are 9.8s, despite the fact they have probably been in here for over 20 years. And your comics do rot inside of these cases, you know. So, but they're saying it's a 9.8. Look at that. Some of the first 9.8s for all I know, right? And I already had this Grant Morrison series, right? But I wasn't about to pass up these for $5 and they end up being $1 a piece. So I don't know how these work. I don't know how my buddy knew that you know, what I paid, what I was offered to buy them for and stuff. And I always thought 9.8s were like, you know, people will buy things just because they're a 9.8 because they have this. I have if you dig on my Instagram about a year or two, somebody had a comic and it blew my mind where a slab .5, 0.5 had people fighting for it. And I think it sold for $138 of some book. People fought over it, had a big bidding war, and it came up to like $128. I'm talking in general. I can't remember exactly. But as I was looking at the listing on eBay, an unslabbed copy that was in pretty good shape went for like $3. But it wasn't a .5. You know, it probably could have been a 9. But because it has this plastic case around it and this grating, yeah, nobody went for the good copy. They wanted the one slab, even though it was a .5. And with the news that's I've been seeing coming up, I will not click on the headlines, but after a few of the scandals that's been going over the last year with CGC, and the fact that the CEO has admitted that it's all subjective. It just depends who's looking at your book. Now your 9.9s and are just getting thrown out there. They're not going to be that rare. I find it hard to believe that they give out few 10s because they want repeat business, in my opinion, is what I think. I have no idea. This is just an opinion, my alleged thoughts, you know, allegedly on it and stuff. But it's like chasing a dragon. You know, they'll give you probably some better grades if they think you're going to be a repeat business, and then you're always going for those higher grades and stuff. Well, now apparently they're throwing out 9.9s and stuff like it's nothing, and they've changed the subjectivity to it. You can have ticks and stuff, color breaks and stuff. Apparently, you know. So that's what I'm trying to say. I just don't trust the man. I don't trust the man. So let's take a break there. We'll have something nice to look at here. Didn't know I was going to go a rant on CGC, but like I said, you know, it's got a thing going on. I see Brain has popped in here. Man, This is awesome. Here we go. Gore Vidal, the Terminator comic with the pop-up page. I had never seen it either. I collect Terminator comics. I really enjoyed the RoboCop Terminator crossover that Frank Miller wrote and Walt Simonson drew. I really had to change how my brain kind of thought when I saw that. That was some intense stuff in the 90s. No dissing Ralph Snart, man. I loved that book when I was young. I love Ralph Snart. I came around. I'm looking for one issue of Ralph Snart. It's blowing my mind. Because my brother had it. I thought I owned it, and I'll never find it. And I keep buying Ralph Snart books, and I never find it. But the first panel of the book has an arched bridge with a little stream going underneath it. And parked out the bridge is Ralph Snart in his Volkswagen Bug, and he's standing there pissing off the bridge into the nice little creek because and I can't find that book. That was my favorite Ralph Snart story, or maybe it was just the imagery. So Comic Crack, or anybody that leaves, that reads Ralph Snart. If this rings a bell, please let me know the issue number. I need it. I need it. I'm weak. I'm weak. They're long gone from the collection now. Oh, damn it. I felt a tinge of hope. I did it to myself. God. Oh, I don't know how that comes off to you guys. I hope that was funny, but I had a shred of hope and then it just took away because I didn't read. Okay. Scene in scene. Let's get back together here. David Jason, the voice of Danger Mouse and Count Duckula, is still alive at 84 years old. He still shows up occasionally on British TV. My God, there was an issue. There was a Danger Mouse. I'm gonna have to go through and find it. There was an episode of Danger Mouse, and I know it wasn't the washing machines, but anyway, there was something going on in the streets. All this big danger, and Penfold ended up falling down into the sewer. And Danger Mouse said, "I got to go take care of this. You need to, keep the audience occupied." And then he's like, "I don't know how to do that." And he's like, "Just figure out something." So Penfold ends up singing, "I don't want to be here and I want to go home." And we were dying in the house. He was making up a song as he went. Again, I'm going to have to find this stuff. I remember, yeah, I remember Penfold. Call Chief. Then there's Penfold. Yeah, it's only a cartoon. Breen is here. Good morning, Breen. Yeah, Pilgrim and Breen. Good morning. Hey, great to see you, Breen. Everybody, we got the legend. We got Breen. Oh man, just great stuff going on. Those Kaluta Shadow books are great. The Shadow Strikes from DC was also great reading. If that's the one I'm uncomfortable with, I think, because of the writer, and I'll just leave it there. But yeah, those Shadow Strikes books were like fantastic. Yeah, I've got a little box or two here of pulp heroes in their comics. Congrats to Mariana. All right. I think they had a crowdfunder for her because she's going to evict it, and it sounds like it went well. I really like those pre-Alan Moore Swamp Thing books. The art was fantastic. Poor Martin Pascal, I think it's who was writing them. Oh man, yeah, they were a little bit rough. Luckily, Steve Bisset and the crew were doing some great art on there. Like I said, I got rid of most of them. Okay, listen to the legend. This is the man. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to know when Howler Mouse goes live. Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Concrete is great. I agree. I just didn't think Killer Smile was that great. Maybe reading in context of all the other books. Mark Hazard, Peter David writing Mark Hazard, Pilgrim. It was actually really good stuff. I love the scene where you didn't know he was watching a movie, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is horrific." This is Merc now, an ex-Vietnam vet. He's sitting there in a movie. You didn't know he's in the movie theater. Everything was just black around him. It's just his head. And he was like, "Oh God, this is horrible. How can people let this happen? This is an outrage." And you find out he's watching Rambo 2, a Rambo movie. First year New Universe came out. I like Cyforce just as was good, as was Night Mask. Amazingly, as tropey, I can't believe I used that word, but it fits. New Universe was supposed to be new and seated in the real world. And right off the bat, Gordon, oh my God, Al Gordon. Anyway, that can't be right. Why am I one blank here? Who wrote that? Anyway, the first thing they did was go into different dimensions and things like that. And anything that that writer touched was gold. The guy ran the Epic line, and I cannot believe I'm going to blank on his name because I'm a huge fan. He touched everything. Starman, everything he touched just went to gold. Anything he got his smell on. I never read anything from the second year besides Burn Starbrand, which I thought was fantastic. Super science fiction stuff, man. Super science fiction, which managed to omit most of the going-ons with the war. Yep. Yeah. I was going to tell you, the universe was getting good, in my opinion. You know, I was lucky enough to get the Pit promo poster and had it signed by Peter David. I still have it hanging on the wall of most of the universe books. As what came out, Starbrand originally took place in Pittsburgh, which was Jim Shooter's hometown. And when Jim Shooter was ousted as editor in chief, one of the things that they did is Byrne started coming back to Marvel. And a few other people were, you know, rumblings going on. So they blew up Pittsburgh yeah, they gave it a 1-issue special called The Pit to blow up Pittsburgh. Yeah. I loved everything they were doing there. Wait a second, are you telling me that grading books is a scam? Yes, in my opinion, allegedly. How funny. Yeah. Fugatoid, very nice. Thank you. Right. Okay, I'll talk about it here in a minute, brother. I remember some wizard started talking about slabs in the 90s. Yes, they did. It's also because of Wizard magazine. As much as I love them, they started hinting towards all the great books on eBay, and then all of a sudden for eBay they had this big 2 to 3 page spread advertisement telling people about the books on eBay. Let me tell you about eBay when they started out, when it came to comics and anything else on there, yard sale prices, right? I got the first 5 issues of Mr. Miracle by Jack Kirby, 1970, what was it, 2 guys? 2 different auctions, maybe 3, with shipping included. This is 1997, 98, guys. With shipping included, 5 issues, 1 or 2 different, at least 2 or 3 different auctions. It was 2 different auctions and stuff, including shipping. And what you would do is you would win it. You had a certain amount of time to mail them a money order, and then they had a certain amount of time to mail you the book and stuff like that. $5 for the first 5 issues of Jack Kirby's Mr. Miracle, right? Everything was like that. And then after Wizard blew it up, whether eBay was paying them or not, or for the advertising or something like that, that's when things started getting ridiculous. Ran over. So why don't you just go through and make a short of some of these little rants I did? That would be fantastic. I have a weakness for these pulpy characters in books. I do too. I'm reading Hama's Nth Man right now. It reminds me of the New Universe comics. I read those when they came out. My brother had those. I went back and had a full set, and I sold them. And the whole idea of them trying to say that's the first female Silver Surfer is ridiculous. That wasn't even the real Galactus that was in there if you're reading the book. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you Nth Man popped up in Excalibur. I think number 26 or something. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah. All right. For some reason, I always thought Nth Man was a new universe and realized it wasn't just a few years ago. Mandela effect, I guess. The Sumerian is here. What's up? I can understand why. It was probably the timing and the setting. You know, in both universes, Marvel Comics were Marvel. It was like Earth Prime at DC. Oh, my goodness. All right, we're going to get through these and get some comics going, guys. I recently got all issues of DP7. I love Mark Grunwald. Absolutely. His DP7 popped up in an issue of Quasar, issue 31 or 32, just to throw it out there for you. Okay. I recently got all the issues of DP7. Love Mark Grunwald. Marvel should put out more Quasar and DP7 collected editions. So Smotlock, you probably know about the Quasar stuff right there. Quasar has 2 trade paperbacks. DP7 got 1 trade collected. The thing is, though, it took me a little bit here and there dabbling in it, but they're so cheap you can get a complete set of the comics. You know, that might have something to do with it. But Mark Grunwald, unheralded hero. I'm just glad he got praised while he was alive for things like Squadron Supreme and his Captain America run, and he did such good stuff. He was a DC Comics fan. He had to have been with the way he treated some of these characters and stuff. Maybe I'm out for lunch, but is there any doubt that there's a wizard? Wait a minute. Comment crack. Maybe I'm out to lunch, but is there any doubt out there that Wizard was one of the main reasons things went the way they did in the 90s? I think it enabled it. Now, I don't know how much power they got at some point, but Frank Miller called them out. But yet, a year or two later, 2, 3 years later, he was the main event guest at a Wizard Con. You know what I mean? He was ripping the pages as he was putting down leeches of our comic book industry that was damaging them. So, yeah, I mean, Wizard, like I said, Wizard was fantastic, and it reached a point where it diluted itself. And here's the deal, comic. Here's an example of what I'm talking about, where I started wisening up. I started smartening up, if you will. Right? Wizard claimed that Alex Ross did his Kingdom Come, and they went, "Hey, as Wizard magazine, we approached Alex Ross to go ahead and do some stuff, showing us what he would do with the future of Marvel Comics." And you all of a sudden got this sketchbook for Earth X that he supposedly did on all his own. Then you get in there and you see that he and Jim Kruger, I think, they had like intricate story details and intricate art in there, penciled art. It's not just a sketchbook, where this whole thing is laid out for you. And lo and behold, all of a sudden we get Earth X coming out, and it's going to be a trilogy. And Wizard is like, Marvel went for our idea. Isn't that amazing and stuff, right? That's when I realized that they were working with the comic book companies. Now, this isn't wrestling. This isn't the news. This isn't anything, big like that. But that's when I was like, oh, dude. You know what I mean? Like, they're working for Marvel. And that's why I think there were so many Wolverine covers, not just because somebody at Wizard was a Wolverine fan, but you started seeing how they were working with, they became advertisement more than they did journalism. Does that make sense? So yeah, they had a hand in, they became a cog in the machine. And at some point, how much of the machine did they come? I don't know. Yeah, but I didn't know I was going to go on like that. But yeah, that Earth X was exact. I already had my suspicions about that Earth X. And then you had the whole Sentry fiasco, where Wizard was playing along, acting like the Sentry was a long lost character created in the Silver Age. They found in a drawer named after, and they took two names from a colorist and a letterer or something, that worked at Marvel in the 60s. I don't know. But they had their hand in helping promote a lot of stuff. Yeah. And of course, then they had their own little comic book line that Gareb Shamus was doing, and they were putting out their half-issue magazine. So yeah, there's a lot to be said there. Well, okay, there's a great Dale Keown issue of Nth Man. Oh, fantastic! Yeah, there is Smotlock. Yeah. It's the funny thing about that Burn Starman run. It started off with his friend, the guy who owned Mid Ohio Comic Con, and his wife as characters in the book. I used to work security for the show. Oh, that's cool. I am not surprised a bit, Shirley Tim. That's some cool background information. I only need a few issues to finish off those New Universe books, and you can build those runs for next to nothing. I pass up. Oh my God, what's the one with the girl in the Troubleshooters? Something in the Troubleshooters. Anyway, Spitfire and the Troubleshooters. Yeah, I see those left and right. I just got the first issue, and that was the first issue of the New Universe, was Spitfire and the Troubleshooters. John Byrne always says that Grunwald loved DC more than Marvel, which is ironic since he never worked for DC. Man, that's wild. That is wild. I guess you need an escape. You don't want your fun to become work. And he's already in comics working with Marvel Heroes and the creators. So, Comic Crack, good take on Wizard, one of the first influencing mind control that they used on comic book fans. Great Legends show. Sucks that evil exists out of the say no to influence. Woo, getting deep there, Legend. Well played. Wizard grew because of what went on in the 90s. The class was uneventable, but it was a hero's world which contributed to make it worse. Heroes Con, which is the one I went to since the 90s, was actually starting to have less and less attendance, in my opinion. The show wasn't becoming that popular. And then Wizard, with their comic book conventions, really had a lot of people en masse turn against them, because they tried to do a show the same weekend as Heroes Con, allegedly to knock it out and be the big boys. Even the creators rallied up against it, refused to do the WizardCon show. And we had Warren Ellis and all these people coming, flying across the Atlantic to come to Heroes Con to support it. So there was a time where, yeah, Wizard all across the board was not coming off very well, you know. Even after, I think the magazine had already been, they canceled their magazine well years before that. Marvel put off Grunwald's Cap Run and Epic collections, and I got them all. Yeah, those Epic collections are my favorite trades right now. I have several: Conan, Fantastic Four. What else is up there? Werewolf by Night, Monster, Deathlock. Well, no, those aren't actual Epic collections, but what have I got there? Fantastic Four, Amazing Spider-Man. I know I have a Hulk. I have about 3 or 4 Conans. My favorite. They're my favorite form of. If I don't watch myself, I'll go broke when I find them for $25 here and there instead of the 40 that they usually go for. Heroes World, the distributor, because Marvel went exclusive with them. Oh my God, yeah, that distribution nightmare. Yeah, that much more than the speculation contributed to market drop. Back then, yeah, I completely. Wow. There's our foreign correspondent there with his research. Fantastic stuff. So what you see here is Fugitoid, and they're getting this for $1. I don't think this is as hot as it used to be, right? But Fugitoid came from Mirage Studios, tied to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? And that's about all I really know about this. I know that it was hot. It was sought after there for a while. I don't know if there was talk about a Fugitoid TV show, cartoon, movie. I don't remember what's going on. That's back when I didn't really pay that much attention to all the spec to it, right? But when I do get the attention, when the speculation comic book channels or some of this talk does get a hold of me, when it does catch my attention, when I do go in there and look and stuff like that, I've had many times in these videos where I will hit the antique shop. It's flea market season or something, or I go through some boxes and I show people, if you will get off the damn internet sometimes, you can find these books for cheap still out in the wild, you know. And while I'm saying that, since we've come this far, the Key Collector comic app, I did see 1 or 2 people. I saw 2 people using it. Well, I saw with my eyes 1 person using it, and the other person let me know they were using it. Yeah, that's great to have a source to find in Key Comics if that's what you're out there for. So there are people just going through these boxes looking for the keys because they're being told what a key book is. They don't really do their own research. They don't really know what they want. They just want those key books. You know, the greed comes in. And you end up missing books that are worth money, that are considered keys. Thus, the 3 issues of Swamp Thing I got that I knew were worth money, but I didn't know they were worth $40 a piece. Those will not show up as key books. Okay, there are books out there, if you are out for the money value of them, that don't show up in a Key Collector app. That makes resale a little bit hard if so many people in the that are collecting comics depend on an app that just look at the keys. There are many books worth a lot of money. You will miss out on at least half of the Fantastic Four 101 issues by Jack Kirby. What is it? It was 101 Jack Kirby Stan Lee issues. Despite having the first appearance of so many great characters, all of those books are worth money, but you will miss out on them because they don't show up in your Key Collector app. It's that simple, folks. Okay. All right, moving on here. We're making great time. Okay, guys. Now this is where I'm going to own it, right? A little while ago, you know, in this thread I was talking about, I went in underwhelmed with the idea. I underestimated what was going to be there, right? I was like, you know, things have been drying up around here. I had a great time. I had a great haul the last time I went to the flea market 2 weeks ago or whenever it was. There's no way it's going to happen. Or was it just last week? I don't know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Anyway, so I'm sitting here and I'm just sort of like, man, I had a good run. I'm not going to find that much stuff. So this is the first guy I found. And I think he got $15 off of me, maybe 12 or $15. But he was doing a thing where the books are a little bit, I don't want to say they're mid-grade. You know what I mean? They're a little bit better than that. But it looked like he was just getting rid of his collection and feels like he pick through the main keys and stuff. So when I saw them, I'm like, this is probably the best I'm going to see. This is also at 10 minutes after 7, guys, maybe 5 minutes after 7 in the morning, and I'm just halfway through my coffee. So I know I didn't buy them all for 15, but he probably came close, $12, $13. And I feel like I wasted my money. I'll be honest with you, right? So we get this X-Force number 11. I knew this was a thing because I had probably like the first 20 issues of X-Force when they came out. And I remember something about this one. Yes, it has shown up in speculation. But this is where we find out that we've never seen Domino. It turns out that the character Domino, who was actually getting quite popular, did not appear in the New Mutants for the first time. She's always been, which I can't figure out why they decided to do it this way. But who knows? It's comic books. It's not important. But it had always been a doppelganger, right? It has never been the real Domino. So your first appearance of Domino is not really the first appearance of Domino. And then we had the Marvel Zombies by Robert Kirkman. And some of these are, I think maybe one of them is a first print. The rest are second prints. But with some of the second prints, they are worth more than the first prints because of these fantastic covers by Arthur Pseudonym. And I have some of these already signed by Arthur Pseudonym, where he would take our classic Marvel covers and he would zombie them up, right? And of course, this is the first John Romita issue of Amazing Spider-Man after Steve Ditko had left, right? This probably makes my third or fourth one. I actually enjoyed these from the early 2000s. They took the idea of Marvel Zombie, where you are a Marvel Zombie fan and you buy tons of Marvel books and you know all the trivia. Somewhere along the line, since I've been doing the YouTube channel, I had some people come after me for referring to people as Marvel Zombies because they said it was derogatory. Little did I know it was that of that crowd coming up the ranks, if you will, of everything offending them. So yeah, Marvel Zombie is not a bad term, but I loved how Robert Kirkman was the horror guy. I can't remember if he was already doing The Walking Dead or not. He had to have been for them to ask him to do this. So they ended up having like 5 sequels to this, maybe 6 counting one shots or something, right? I read it. I got a kick out of it. And of course, we had our Ultimate Fantastic Four comics that gave us our first appearance. Reed Richards peering into the zombie universe, if you will. So yeah, this is fantastic stuff. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. You know, so we got those. And then I absolutely love this issue 302. I missed out on I had 298, 299. I also had 297. 298 is Todd McFarlane's first Spider-Man. I had 299. I had the issue 300. Sadly, I sold issue 300 to my buddy Matt, who lives in Kingsport now, Kingsport, Tennessee now. I ended up having to sell that in my first appearance of Moon Knight. That was part of my stepdad's collection because of divorce. And those are the only 2 books, Amazing Spider-Man more than anything because I bought it off the rack. You know, that's probably the only really books I really regret selling. And wouldn't you know it, 301, 302, 303 were impossible to find on the spinner rack after that 300th issue. The books were super hot all of a sudden. So I think since then I've acquired 303. I finally got 302, probably a mid-grade for $1. I passed this up in an antique shop for $10, which I should have gotten about a month or 2 ago. So it amazed me to pop up like this. Now, here's what's bad. In the very box I found this in, they had 2 copies of issue 301. I never saw a book so destroyed. It was chewed up by rats. It had water damage. It had black mildew on the cover. And when I went to look at the inside gingerly with a finger and pull it up, it's crumbing away like clay paper on a 60s chipped Marvel book. I had never seen 2 books. It felt like they weren't just destroyed, they were hated. For what ended up being $1, ended up getting, I already had 333, but I backed up and, you know, some Eric Larson early Venom appearances because they were there is why I ended up getting this. This is still in the day when there were limited Venom. He had popped up, you know. One of the things I left behind because I have 2-3 issues, they had the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, the update. I think it was 1989 update, and on the number 6, that's actually one of those books that would be hard to find at times, because Ron Friends did the covers of those with all the characters that would be in that book, with their origins and stats and tales and stuff. And right there on the corner and stuff is something that's probably like the second or third appearance of Venom, even though it's an official handbook of the Marvel Universe. Well, I found another one that would have made my third one, if I'd gotten it. But I left it behind because I'm going to show you what else was in the box, and I had to pick and choose. And there's some more Spider-Man stuff I'll show, right? Anyway, but like I said, I got these all off the same guy. And like I said, after I've done the math, if I've done it right, everything came to $1. But with this dude here, he was the first one to hit me up, and I could have got a better deal. Or some of those, yes, I probably needed like 3 or 4 of them, because those Marvel Zombies are doubles, except for one issue from my collection, if you will. Oh, we have had an accident, people. We've had Venom. We've had Venom reach out and knock my light down, all because I was swinging wide. So hold on a minute. Wow. I mean, is it really a Howler Mouse show if there aren't technical difficulties? Come on now. That's part of the charm. Hold on. All right. Okay. I like to think that was just suspense, right? So let's look at where I show some of these comics that, like I said, came to $1. I'm going to look at some more comments here, and I'm going to get some more coffee, because I'm blanking out on names and it's going to kill me. All right. Heroes World. Yeah, I've already read that. Here we go. Going back to the Epic collections. I have over 200 Epic collections. Smotlock, 200 Epic collections. Toast. That is fantastic. I mean, that is the way to read this stuff, I'm telling you. I love finding them at bargain prices at Books A Million, in Ollie's, and various online stores. Yeah, I've gotten a few off Ollie's, Amazon, 1 or 2 off of eBay. And funny enough, the only ones that came slightly damaged were from Amazon. Go figure. I love Omnibus for their oversized art, but Epic collections are the perfect reading size. That could be it. And the colors, man, they don't go overboard. They're bright and vibrant, but they don't, they kind of stay to the original source a little bit more. And the perfect reading size. Plus, they use the original. That's what I just said. The original colors. So the Simonson's Thor comes out in the Epics and won't be recolored. I had that entire Simonson Thor run, and maybe I shouldn't have got rid of it, because I just figured it was something I would never go back and read. It was epic. It was great. I kept several issues, but I didn't keep the full run. Okay, amen. The Legend. I don't use that app either. Legend uses the Bible in praise, and then he buys Fantastic Four and Shazam, and you guys have got to see some of the shows where Legend will give us we'll get up there and he's preaching, man. He's preaching. He's talking, and then combine that with popping out some of these Golden Age Shazam books and the things he gets. The boy don't play. The man does not play. The Legend does not play. I can't wait for Marvel to put out either Epic collections and Omnis of the Marvel Team Up. That title and Web of Spider-Man don't have many collected volumes, with the exception of the Marvel MTU Masterworks. Oh, yeah, man. And a lot of that stuff was pricier than I thought it should have been at a time. But my God, when I finally got to see some of that stuff, I got it. I understood. Totally understood. What we got here? The Sumerian, just curious, as a Southern boy myself, how long has it been since you went to the Jockey Lot? Haven't been in 2 decades, and I just wonder if it's worth the ride from Georgia. I went in 2000, let's say 17 or 16. Totally loved it. I thought it was worth it, and I'm 99% sure we're talking about the same place, because I hit 2 or 3 places up. and the person I was dating at the time, we had a hotel room, and I thought she was going to knock out a waitress because for some reason when we got breakfast, the waitress was like reaching out to touch my arm. It was kind of weird. Uh, so yeah, that kind of took over my memory of most things, with that dramatic moment and stuff, right? So yeah, good stuff, man. But I thought it was worth it. But we're going way back, okay? I think people were already proud to be Marvel Zombies in the 90s. Yeah, yeah. One of the things I remember the most was actually at Heroes Con in the 90s. And I saw the same dude two or three times, which was wild, right? But he would end up, this guy, I don't want to go on. Okay, I'm on sidebar for just a minute here. Sorry, guys. But the guy got me because at one hand, I felt he was a little bit pitiful because he was so into comics. He was the guy, and it was the exception back then. He was the guy where you kind of knew he was living in somebody's basement. He was unkept, a little bit overweight at the time. And he was sitting there, and both times that I saw him, he was trying to discuss with people in line who were kind of ignoring him because it was a one-sided conversation. He was not autistic, but if you mistook him for autism, you would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, this is it. And he was sitting there going through, I thought he was, I ended up in line behind him several times, several people back, and I thought he was astute. I was impressed with his knowledge at the time because you didn't really see it that much. But he was breaking down the dynamics of the Marvel Universe to prove that it had only been around in 10 years. Like for 10 years, like if you took the chronology, if for us, that had been around since 1961 to we'll say 2000, right? But for people in the universe, only maybe 10 years had gone by. And he was pointing out facts, and he even knew the story where the universe was destroyed and Doctor Strange had rebuilt it. So it's not even really the real Marvel universe in an odd way. That'll cross your eyes if you look that one up. Okay, I'm back online here. Sorry, back in topic. Marvel Zombies is great. I got those in single issues and later the complete collections. I really enjoyed 3 and 4 more than Kirkham's minis. The one with Machine Man. I know what you're talking about. The one that Anderson, a buddy of mine, and I like, I want to say it's the Squadron Supreme Marvel Zombies special there or miniseries or whatever it was. I have it in hardback behind me, but they're out in Kansas or somewhere in the Midwest, and they have these like themed heroes coming out, and you have a guy who's like a giant. He's a giant sunflower. You know what I mean? And he's going at a zombified Hyperion, and Hyperion hits him with his heat vision, and the guy just goes AH. It's hilarious when you read it. I just realized me telling you the tale, I probably came off flat, laying right on the floor. But Tim and I laugh every time we used to send the panel in text every now and then just to rib each other. I was definitely a Marvel zombie as a kid. In the 70s, when I was a kid, Marvel was so much better than DC. I had DC Comics, a relative gave me. They were never as good as my Marvel books. I am a DC guy, but I love my Marvels. Don't get me wrong, But the thing about it is there was an era there where whenever I read a Marvel book, I'd walk away all bummed out. Sometimes they just had melancholy and rain clouds over characters' heads just to have them. They didn't need to. I mean, there was a time where Daredevil was a whiny bitch. Yet I have oh my God, I have tons of Daredevil here. I can turn it around and show you my short boxes. You see what I'm saying? Did the cat get into your room again? Nope. All me and Venom. All me and Venom. I thought about blaming the cat, but I can't do that. I can't set up an innocent man. Paulo Costa, I warned Tim when he cut the cat, it would be the end of him. I feel like it's going to be Booster Gold related when my end comes. I just ordered the omnibus for the Simonson run. This is Shirley Tim. I haven't read it in years, and it comes with the Baldar mini too. Yeah, I just recently found out that in his head, on his own, Walt Simonson started doing that Thor. There's a video somewhere where he's drawing something sci-fi, some sci-fi channel, SYFY something. They have a lot of John Byrne interviews. But if I'm remembering right, he's drawing his current Armageddon Thor. And I think that's the interview where he was kind of talking a little bit about Marvel for a minute, or I read it in an interview. It's killing me. I got to find it. But he started writing that Thor idea of a series in his head in the 60s on his own. You know, he didn't get into comics till 73, right? You know, he was 27 years old when he came out with his Manhunter. That blows my mind about Walt Simonson. I went to a Waffle House last week, and it was my lucky day. The waitress had more than 3 teeth. I wanted to find out what part of Texas you're in, sir. I think I saw her at the carnival last night, man. It broke my heart. Citation needed great legend. Oh, that was good. By the 90s, I actually enjoyed DC more than Marvel. A lot of the 90s DC is actually really good and woefully undercollected. Yeah, I think DC got their stuff together in the 90s more than any other time, collectively as a whole. And by the time they got to Blackest Night, I can't believe they just abandoned it and went to the 52. And I'm not going to go on that rant. There's reasons I know they did that 52. Being a heathen has its benefits since I read Marvel, DC, and the Independents. Oh, I like that. The heathen, the heretic. I could consider myself the heretic. Here we go. Which made me a suspicious class among the Trinity. There was a time, because I knew of Commandy and read my books, people were suspicious of me. It was a New Teen Titans and Legion of Superheroes that got me into DC as a teenager. I have a video about I can't believe it's this old now, 7 or 8 years old. It's my favorite Legion of superhero stories. It's actually got quite a few views on it and stuff, and I stand by my list. Okay, guys, you guys have waited long enough here, right? But this is why whatever I said before, this is why I passed up some other books or something, who knows, right? But I had to get these because of the condition they're in. These are upgrades. I have often, over the years, been pretty proud of my X-Men collection that I have rebuilt, or a few issues that I kept. I actually sold an 80-issue run that had the first appearance of Gambit. That was the big one and stuff. You know, I bought off the rack and stuff. I didn't come around to the X-Men until about 85. I mean, I had a sporadic issue here and there, 176. My favorite X-Men is the one where Colossus and Juggernaut get into a bar fight after Secret Wars. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. There was certain things I liked here and there, but I was cantankerous. I wouldn't get into the Titans. I wouldn't get to the X-Men because I was already sick of people talking about them. You follow what I'm saying? But there was merit. I still had a few issues. And then the Asgardian Wars heated up, came out. And that's where I just gave in. That Asgardian Wars story to me is just fantastic, right? Then we got hit with the Morlock Massacre, and I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. They got me, and I'm very happy they got me with story and merit. Okay. But over the years, there was X-Men comics in there, don't get me wrong. And I was very happy with what I had, especially since I sold a pretty solid 80-issue run in 1993. But I was always proud of my earlier issues I still had and stuff. And I got them out a couple months ago. I don't know. The last few years have flown by, and I saw that they're like beat up. Why? Because I read them. They were beat up, and I was just like, oh my. And I picked some up at flea markets and didn't really look at the grade. Well, I looked at these, right? So 144. Oh, who is the John Byrne had already left, so this is a Byrne cover, John Byrne cover, but it's got somebody else. Oh, Brent Anderson, maybe. I don't know, but there's a different artist inside of it. So that's the thing where I've seen people really run for this, and they're John Byrne addicts, Byrne victims, if you will. And I just kind of shake my head because I'm like, well, they're just going to be disappointed when they get home and open them. So 144. A book that I've never owned and I really wanted. This is Dave Cockrum with the Starjammers on here. Mr. Legion of Superheroes for life in my eyes, even though, he's a big part of the reason the X-Men became huge. Enter the Starjammers. This should be the origin of Corsair, who is Scott Summers' dad and Havoc's dad and stuff. The guy abandoned. They thought he died, and the whole story was Scott Summers. Scott Summers used to be one of my favorite Marvel characters back in the Slim Summers days. And yeah, they really kind of ruined the character over the years from your point of view. If you were there. First appearance of the Morlocks and stuff. Some Paul Smith art. I have become a huge fan of the Paul Smith era of the X-Men with Chris Claremont. Here's issue 175. which is the marriage of Madeline Pryor and Cyclops. And I think I have the issue after this where John Romita Jr. starts. Grain of salt, because I haven't really done my research. These are beautiful condition, right? And I've already flipped through this one. I'm gonna have to sit down and read it. It looks beautiful. Paul Smith with his animation background. This is my third or fourth issue of this, and I've always had a problem getting a decent copy of it. This appeared from the stands, if it was ever delivered back in the day. What is this, 86, 85? We'll say 1985. Why? Because Firestar appears properly in the Marvel Universe. A lot of people think this is her first appearance in comics. I'm pretty sure there was a Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends special comic that had come out of continuity, of course, right? But I'm one of the guys that's very forgiving of John Romita Jr. Apparently, I think a lot of his storytelling is fantastic for what he's doing. I realized that his father was probably, he has admitted that his dad has corrected some of his artwork over the years when he was art director, John Romita Sr. But I think it's where it's just so unique, and he can actually tell a story and it flows. You follow what I'm saying? I have seen some people who can draw better than him, but they do not tell a story as good as him, right? So it's not so much I'm defending John Romita Jr. As much as I'm saying he doesn't need to be defended, because he has the merits of being a great storyteller more than an artist. You follow what I'm saying? Like, I can't really say he's a great artist if you want to put him beside other people, but I don't think it's fair to compare him. Does that make sense? I don't want to dig a hole here in a corner. I'm a terrible artist, but every now and then I throw some great stuff out there, I think, Blue Moon type thing, right? So that's what I'm trying to get at. I get it and stuff, right? Plus the guy's great online. He's still out there doing it. Just a great guy, Now, this right here, I gave in. I got this. I loved the X-Men classic books, classic X-Men when they started out. Right there with, Comic Can. Are you still there? Are you with us? I think somebody tried to call me. Anyway, so now I want you to picture this. I'm about 13 years old. Art Adams has just blown my mind with his X-Men stuff. I didn't discover him in Long Shot, guys. Okay. It's probably the New Mutant Special, if I had to guess. And I'm lucky I've got to meet him twice, which is fantastic. Right. Got some stuff signed by him. The actual comics, the actual Asgardian X-Men annual. Anyway. So anyway, number 1 comes out. It's got an Art Adams cover, and it's a reprint of the New Mutant Special number 1. And I'm sitting at Magimart with one of my friends, and you open the inside of Classic X-Men number 1, and there's this fantastic picture of Storm, all curvy and stuff, right? And I'm 13 years old, and I look at one of my friends, and I'm like, check her out, ha, ha, ha. And he looks at it, and from behind me, my mom has appeared we walked to Magimart. My mom apparently went and did some shopping and snuck up behind us, and he went, yeah, check her out. Nothing like getting busted by your mother looking at a hot picture of a woman drawn in cartoony style when you're 13. I mean, it's just amazing how tough and strong you can be, and the little things that'll make you crumble. So anyway, what is the significance of this? This is number 74. It is actually in pretty decent shape, considering I found it not in a bag amongst the box and stuff. But we have an Adam Hughes cover from 1992, guys. And I'm trying to think when it came out, but he only been in comics for a few years, I guess, publishing. I think his first published work was a Justice League America by Keith Giffen, James DeMantis, number 32, if you will. And when I found that issue, I missed it off the rack. I don't know. That's why I thought Adam Hughes may have been something before. But when I finally required a copy to complete my run, because I was there the entire 5 years with that book, Adam Hughes had signed the inside cover with his full name instead of his initials. So I showed it to him at Heroes Con a few years ago. There's a picture of he and I somewhere on Instagram. And he confirmed that, yeah, that was how he used to sign his name. So anyway, I pick up Adam Hughes covers when they're out there. It's not that I go out there and try to find them. Is that when I run across one, I'm not passing it up. I don't look, but when I see. And this cracks me up. X Factor, I was there getting this month to month. I actually sold almost my entire run back in the early 2000s on eBay. I gave my brother my Thor run from the 80s, my Captain America run up to Captain America 350 and stuff, and built this back. And it blows my mind how easy it is to find X Factor 5 and 6 in dollar bins at flea markets. Of all things, I have multiple copies of them now, and I have never paid more than $1. This is a direct market sale. The first 5 issues, Bob Layton, Jackson Geis, a few other people came in, and it didn't feel like an X-Men book. And then Louise Simonson, who had edited Chris Claremont stuff, came in in the next issue. And I think it was issue 10, her husband would join her penciling as Sal Buscema took over the Thor. And we got like this weird character sort of in the shadows and looking very 80s gray and dark blues and stuff at the end of the book with a cameo. In the next issue, we find out it's Apocalypse and stuff, right? So this is the first cameo issue there. I find those left and right. Now, here's a story about what I'm talking about when you're at flea markets or conventions and stuff. You need to slow down sometimes. This is that X-Men 25 book that was hot for half a minute. If it's still hot, I don't know, man. But it's like this had the blue air. Is this hologram messed up? This is from the 90s. This Galactic Comics in the 90s, but they had a crossover event where Magneto just went ape shit, and he pulls the adamantium out of Wolverine. Finally, people doing it, and then there's like hologram error issues and all this stuff, right? And la la la. This is the glut of the 90s that people are talking about, where it was this like this wasteland out there. I mean, good God, they put out freaking green ketchup. You know what I mean? It was a wasteland out there, people. But anyway, so they had a ton of these in there, and I'm like, hey, I found the one with the bone claws, the Wolverine 75. Might as well get this. And they had 5 or 6 in there. Now check this out. So all the books I've been looking at in this lot have been really great shape. And I get home and I start looking at them, and I think the bag just has a little dent in it. So out of like maybe we'll say 10 copies of this in there, I picked the one that's got the bashed up corner on the comic. Can you believe that crap? I hate when that happens. You think you got something good and you come home and you open it and you're like, I should have looked at it. The only thing I definitely look at consistently are Bronze Age comics to make sure the Marvel stamps in them, or that nobody's written or cut out the subscription stuff, right? And here we go. This is how the universe takes up for you, right? Years ago, the last time that I can really think about this happening is I should have got Teen Titans number 50 from volume 1, where it's got the cover where the West Coast, the Avenger, Teen Titans West versus Teen Titans East. That was a wooden nickel. It kept popping up whenever I was looking for comics, to where I was sick of looking at that comic until I didn't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. And then I couldn't find it anymore, right? So I've learned to grab things and listen to the universe then, right? So if you go back and you look at my last live show before this one, you'll see that I got this 88 cents a piece for these books. This very book was one of them, but there was 2 of the gold edition of Spider-Man number 1. Everything's gold instead of silver. And I had one silver one. And I told the story where I was finding the keys. This guy who was going through, these were in plastic bins. That's the trick. Everybody keeps looking for the comic book boxes. You got to dig a little bit more than this, because this guy had all his comics in these big gray plastic bins that had their own lids that opened. And I found 2 of the gold edition and 2 of the silver ones. The gentleman beside me he came off like a huge Spider-Man fan, but he was holding up random issues of Spectacular Spider-Man telling me they were keys when they weren't. I didn't really know what to say because I didn't want to be an ass. So he finally said Todd McFarlane. So I reached over and I gave him one of the 2 black covers, just to make sure he took something home, that was worth something with what I saw him picking out. Well, the universe took care of me because I ended up finding one other one. So now I have 2 black covers. I've seen people buying these for $10 and stuff at a minimum. I've seen people buying them off and on. This is one of the books I just really can't get too excited about, even though I'm appreciative of finding them. The universe replaced the one it did. Last time this happened is when I found 3 X-Men 266 in a row at different flea markets. The videos are up. I have the pictures on Instagram if you really want to scroll back. All this. That's what I like about doing the stuff online. I can back up what I'm saying with these stories. But anyway, there was 1 million of these sold. There's 1 million of X-Men number 1 sold. There was 1 million. I mean, literally, not figuratively, literally 100 of X-Force #1, X-Men Todd McFarlane. They kept up and breaking records. It blows my mind when these are worth money. Now, last week, we'll see if the universe is listening to me. When I got home and looked these books up for the value, there was a sealed, what I thought was a regular newsstand copy of Spider-Man #1 that was sealed. That's worth like over almost $400 because it has some kind of green background. I think I left that in there and I could have got it for 88 cents if it was the one. I can't lose sleep over what I left behind. Those are the things. I hate that I get all this great stuff and I think about what I did not get, right? I got this, right? Now, I have always said that Marvel keeps crapping on Spider-Man. They had this idea that they can put Spider-Man on. I want to check comments after this, man. They're flying by and I'm wanting to read them. So anyway, Maximum Carnage came out, right? Image had hit. They lost a ton of their talent. They're scrambling around. They're getting, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for here? I mean, we got a doppelganger Spider-Man out of Infinity War. We had Venom. They brought in Carnage. We were getting all these different versions of evil Spider-Man propping up, coming up, and they were diluting the character like you cannot believe. And then along the line, we got web slingers where for some reason, Peter Parker decided to become 4 different heroes. And then some people really became those heroes. They took the costumes up. And then we started getting another Spider-Woman. We already had 2. Then we get a 3rd and the Spider-Girl. And nowadays we're getting Silk and all this stuff like that. I mean, you're just killing. It's worse than what they did. People. I love the 60s. We've been going a long time, guys. Hold on. I love the 60s Superman where we had Comet the Super Horse, Streaky the Cat, Mon-El, and we got to know more about Krypton and stuff, right? Well, at least some of that was in the story, and yes, they cleaned it up and it diluted the character, but this is just pure derivative, right? And for quite a while, for people that were there, this was the epitome of like, what the hell have they done to Spider-Man, right? This was a joke. The Maximum Carnage multi-issue. Give us your money, because in a few months we're going to make your Peter Parker a clone, and the clone Ben Reilly was the real Spider-Man. So all your books from 20 years, that's never been the real Spider-Man. We're going to screw you over. Over and over and over, right? And then all of a sudden you realize this has been 30 years since this come out, I believe. 1993, 31 years, and there's a whole new generation for some reason where Carnage is popping up in the Venom books. This became a bit of a hot book. Go figure. Go figure. The thing that was like the epitome that you just think they couldn't get any lower, yet they did a few years later with the clone, bringing back the Clone Saga. I've always said that Marvel started cramping on, unintentionally cramping on Peter Parker's Spider-Man with the arrival of the Black Cat. What was that? Amazing Spider-Man 194? Because eventually, I don't know if it was a Spectacular Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man, eventually Peter Parker, after being in this relationship with the Black Cat with their secret identities, doing their best Batman and Catwoman, they turned around and Peter Parker decides to reveal his secret identity to the Black Cat. She's like, put it back on. I'm in love with Spider-Man. They made Spider-Man and Peter Parker 2 separate characters then, and that's never been what Spider-Man was about. And that's where I think Spider-Man has always been on decline and kept getting crapped on. Even when they brought in J. Michael Straczynski to save Spider-Man, and everybody was like, thank God he's fixed him, they ended up going with Totem characters and an old man Ezekiel Spider-Man who already had the spider powers and stuff like that. And then they had I still can't believe they did this. They had Gwen Stacy have babies with the Green Goblin, go to Europe to have her babies. Just stupid stuff, man. I'm like, even when they bring them back and fix them, they keep crapping on them. So let's just pause right there and see all these wonderful comments, man. This is my favorite thing about these. And I think the comments disappear. That's what gets me after this thing uploads. Oh, wow. We have Entropy of Comics. Welcome. Okay, great to see you. All right. Doppelgangers had one of the best deaths on panel with the gated pointed fence going right through his chest. Oh, I gotta find that. I was out by then. I was so out. Here we go. Spider Clone. Dumbest thing ever. 62 Lefty Blues. Absolutely. Hey, for Kevin, for Kaylin, amen. 1-2 comic book channel. All right. Gore, are you a fan of Moore's? Might want to get those collections as they will never be reprinted. The Checker books have had such bad reproduction that we won't get anything else. Okay. Okay. I was trying to think of some other books you need to get because they'll never be reprinted. I think one of the first books that I think of, that people need to get the Wildcats Aliens one shot that came out. That kind of helped lead to the authority because Aliens is a licensed product and that has been reprinted in a collection one time and they may not be able to do it again ever. There's something to be said about just getting these books that cannot be reprinted. Hey, how many long boxes you got now? I've run out of room for my collections. I'm switching to short boxes, and since my surgery, I can't lift anything over a certain amount of pounds until the end of the month. So I got them floating around. But last count that I've cataloged, I've got about 4 long boxes in another room that need to be cataloged. If I get to them, I get to them. And I've got stuff that cannot be cataloged with these books, some of these books and stuff, because they don't show up on my CLZ app. But as of this count, I hit exactly 16,000. I took a screenshot. I was thinking about putting it on Instagram. So, yeah. And like I said, I've got shelves over here. I mean, I'm going to have to do a purge. I'm 51 years old. I need to decide what I am going to read and what's left in my lifetime. You know, More Supreme, I meant to say. Yeah, More Supreme is fantastic, I think. I've had one person not like it 10 years ago, and after I gave him my doubles, and it really messed with me when he didn't like it. I was like, what? Okay. A friend of mine, John Michael Straczynski's The Dark Beast because of what he did to Gwen. Yeah, The Dark Beast story. I could see that. J. Michael Straczynski, The Dark Beast. Not to be a Parker Rizzo, what's up, brother? Not to be a downer, Heller, but did you hear about the passing of TiVo from Lords of the Long Box? Yes. Let me talk about this for just a second here because I went back and forth on if I should say anything. Timbo was part of the was Lord of the Long Box, and I did not realize that he had been on YouTube for so long, and I racked my brain because within the first year of him starting on YouTube, people called him OG and original voice of comic community and stuff like that. I don't want to go. This is not the time to correct history, right? But he was sort of a fan of a lot of us who were here before, but he did his own thing, and he has passed away. I believe he was 53. And I've talked to 1 or 2 of his friends as best I can online who were actual friends with his. I had not talked to him in close to 9 or 10 years. So that's why I've not really said anything. But he had passed away. He'd been, at least as far as I can recall, if my memory, 10 years comic book community, keeping it going, talking about comics, had quite a following. Probably getting 1,000. I don't know, what was he getting, like 1,000 hits on most of his live videos and stuff. I don't know, but I didn't feel like it was a place to say anything because I was never really close to the guy. But we just took 2 different paths in YouTube. He popped in. I did a show or 2 with him on some other channels here or something like that here and there. I don't even remember. In the conversations we have, I thought he was hilarious and knew what he was doing. And there's many, many people who were actual friends with him. And it was such a surprise that he had passed away. Raymond and, I'm not going to say the other person's name, but Raymond on Facebook that I have, you may know him from Comic Book Fanatics from way back and stuff like that. They were nice enough to share to me what happened real quick. Just told them I'm sorry about their friend. So yeah, TiVo, and I think have they already done, I think they're going to have some kind of live show if they haven't done it already in his memory and stuff, right? So yeah, Timbo, Lord of the Long Box, Godspeed, man. Yeah. I know he had his fans, and I just feel bad for his friends more than his fans. Some of his actual friends on Facebook are hurting, that I can see. Okay. Speaking of reprinting the Superman versus Muhammad Ali in the oversized format facsimile for $15 this auction. Okay, I'm glad that's getting a facsimile. It's a Neil Adams project. That's the big seller on it. Some amazing art, especially with that Who's Easter egg cover of who are all the celebrities and characters and stuff on that and stuff. But man, let's be honest, man, it's one of the worst written comic books ever. But like I said, it's famous and infamous at the same time. That's one of the few comic books I can even think of that holds those titles at the same time, infamous and famous. Here we go. In Knights of Old, so sad that Tim passed. He had a real fun vibe. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it'd been that long since I kind of crossed paths with him and stuff like that. So that's why I didn't feel like it was my place to say anything. You know what I mean? You know, I have to be authentic and not try to act like I was, you know, close to somebody I wasn't. That's just not, you know, it's not about me. It's about people who knew Tim and are actually mourning him. You know what I mean? Because they were his actual friends. All right, moving on. Okay. So one of my things that I consider to be a great thing to have been 12 years old and to be collecting comics and had been reading comics long. I've been reading comics for 8 years leading up to this, so I could follow what was going on. I had never had a problem following the Infinite Earths of DC Universe mainly with the Justice League and Justice Society crossovers and bringing in, you know, 1982. One of my favorite stories is when we had issue 207 of the Justice League of America come out with that great Perez cover. And I know some people hate floating heads, but we had the floating heads making a border of who all the characters were, and we see the Earth 3 evil version of the Justice League, the crime syndicate popping out and everything like that. I was buying All-Star Squadron at the time and the Justice League to get more bang for my buck with my money. Even though I was 9 years old and stuff, I would get teen books to get more heroes and stuff, right? And then there was like Commandy, and I'd come around to Jack Kirby and stuff, and Commandy was on issue 2 of this and stuff, right? But then all of a sudden, it was like I said, Crisis of the Infinite Earth, following this year for year. So my beat up 12 issues off the newsstand, the hill I went to get number 4. I think it's up now on my channel. I think I made it my main video on my channel page where Little Howlermouse got his comic books. I tell the story of going across a marsh with several comic books, and issue number 4 was the only one that had come out. And I didn't get number 4 until the same month number 11 came out, going to all these spinner racks and drugstores and across my town and stuff like that. So anyway, but this is one of my favorite stories, and it blows my mind. I think C. Woodward's channel was the last time I talked about it. But over the years, I've had people who were probably born in the 90s and stuff like that would get the trade, and they would try to read Crisis in one setting. You can't do that. This thing is designed several ways, right? First of all, it's a 3-part act. 1 through 4, 4 through 8, number 9, which was a story that Marv Wolfman with the villains didn't have intended to be part of the story, but they needed some filler. So they ended up writing a classic with a classic cover, number 9, then 10, 11, 12. It's a 3-part story. You know, 3-act story, right? And then the other thing is that each issue is written with so much information in it, like mini comics back then. Go read your Squadron Supreme and things like that, that this was going to last you a month. You know, you could reread it 2 or 3 times. You did not just sit down and fly through this. So it was not structured for a trade. You know what I mean? Yes, a connecting story going throughout, but like I said, each issue stands on its own to a certain extent with a cliffhanger, right? So I love these, right? So my beat up the beat up copies that I have, because I read and reread them and everything like that, I actually had Marv Wolfman and George Perez sign those back in 2013, 2012. There's a picture of me with George Perez again on Instagram. And now I think I have a complete second set. I have multiple copies of different ones of these, but this is one of those books I grab, and these are in phenomenal shape. This book has become famous because amongst people, because they're now appreciating all the characters and heads that George Perez got on this issue. That's Earth 1 and Earth 2 with a line down the middle with characters that exist on both Earths, if you will, right? I ordered a second one of these off of eBay, and when it came in, it was not it was not a very good copy. It did not match the description. So what are you going to do? So I was amazed to find this one, which is in fantastic condition, as is number 6. Still, these are still some of my favorite comics. I'm trying to think. I think yeah, this might be the first issue that Jerry Ordway left Fantastic Four while inking John Byrne, and he came over to this book and started inking it. And I didn't register that when I met George. I met Jerry Ordway 2 years in a row at Baltimore Con, and never took them up there to get him to finish the signatures. So yeah, Dick Giordano to Jerry Ordway, and I think Jerry Ordway knocked it out of the park. Death of Supergirl. Oh my God, this is to me one of the best comic book stories ever written. A little bit of an emotional impact brought in what I would have made and my idea, if you're going to make a super team, a Justice League, an Avengers group, you get all the most powerful characters. And this is, I think this is called Into That Silent Night. But this book in its own, they get us beyond the Silent Night. This is your Justice League, man. They got representatives from each Earth to let you know what Earths are still around. They brought in the Charlton characters and stuff. But anyway, they go into the antimatter universe after they catch us up on the story like they used to do. Within story of what was going on and the history of the Manhunters. If you're a DC guy, this is why I was a DC guy, man. It had such a rich history that actually, that actually could be followed, if that makes any sense, So anyway, they get the best of the best. And I always loved these interactions here with Power Girl and Huntress. There's an issue here of Crossing Infinite Earths where the splash page is the two of them talking. That always got me. Supergirl and Batgirl ended up having it. But there's little things like that where Earth 2 versions of those characters are buddying up, and then later on we get to see a version of this with Batgirl and Supergirl doing the same thing. I love that kind of little intricacies that they don't spoon feed to you. You started noticing things with multiple reads, right? So yeah, Crossing the Infinite Earths. Hopefully, Shannon and I, on the Saturday morning show that Doc Silver HS, Shannon and I have been friends off and on for years on here. Through YouTube and stuff, and hopefully we're in the talks of scheduling some time to do a Crossing the Infinite Earth show. So anyway, moving on. One of the few things that Stan Lee ever put out that I was completely forgiving about. It's not that I hate Stan Lee. It's just that I just don't agree with some of the things that he gets credit for. We'll just leave it at that. This goes all the way to the beginning of this channel, where I used to have mock phone calls with Stan Lee, acting like he wanted my Kirby knife and he couldn't have it and all this stuff, right? I used to do little jokes, and I wasn't the only one. But in the 80s, this amazing story, and I still think it holds up through the Epic line, out of continuity, Mobius had come over and did this 2 issues miniseries of Silver Surfer with Galactus, where there's no heroes. It's a whole other story. And this is just a Marvel Age that talks about that. I got those books off the stand. I read them. And like with anything with Mobius's art, at first I was like, he's not a good fit with the Silver Surfer. And then I looked at the art more and more and more, and I started seeing how the subtle things, like he had actual weight. Looks like Silver Surfer is actually standing there putting weight on it. And then there was other things that started popping up, the simplicity and stuff, right? So when it comes to, and hopefully, our foreign correspondent is here, Pablo and stuff, but besides heavy metal, this may be in the comic book that made me want more European comics, if that makes any sense, right? What year was this? 1988. So I was 15. And this is where I was really slowing down. This is probably when I became a proper Mobius fan. And I already had tons of his stuff in heavy metal that the stepdad had in the house, right? But this was it. Of course, it would be through comics and a Kirby character, right? And then this right here, this ends up being a 3rd print, it says variant edition right here of the Immortal Hulk. It does say variant edition, but when you get to the UPC symbol, That last number on the UPC symbol will tell you what print a book is if it's on there. And this is the third print besides the same variant edition. But that's all right. I've already got this book, right? But for you people who have been watching over the last 2-3 years, the Immortal Hulk, which ran for 50 issues, but if you look up on your CLZ app, they have over 400 comics, I think, with variant editions. They had so many variant covers and printings for this 50 issue series that it got that high. Anyway, but I'm getting all 50 issues where I'm showing you can get this stuff for $1 a piece. And I'm very close to completing all 50 issues. So I already had a number 8, but it was in the stack for $1, so why not add to it? You know what I mean? I was there and it was part of the run. Now somebody's going to have to explain this to me, right? Somebody's going to have to explain this to me. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, right? Great news has come out. They are going to be DC is putting out his style guide from 1982 to where if you saw anything that was marketed, be it your folders for school, your underoos, anything on packaging and stuff, they used the style guide by Jose Garcia Lopez. Okay. He was the face of DC for the ones who knew nothing about the actual comics, everything like that. They're putting that out, right? So in the meantime, back when this came out, 92, I believe, the official comic book adaptation of Batman Returns, the Tim Burton movie, Michael Keaton, I have the first one signed, squarebound, by Jerry Ordway, where they did the first Batman movie by Tim Burton. What a great time to be a kid. What a great time to be a kid to see Batman and Batman shirts everywhere. I saw Ace Frehley with Skid Row on some MTV show where they were singing Cold Gin. They had a band called Flesh for Lulu, I think, singing a song called I Go Crazy. And the lead singer looked like he was from Love and Rockets. And with his leather jacket and his tweezed eyebrows and his spiky punk hair, he had a Batman shirt on. Batman was everywhere. We had the Cult singing Edie, Edie. And in part of their video, they're showing Madison Square Garden, and up on in the middle of Madison Square Garden is the bat symbol. It was a great time, And I couldn't get the shirts I wanted. I ended up getting Kmart brand shirts with some Batman heads on them. Hey, we were poor, I'm like, so I got the Kmart brand Batman, and I'm grateful for it, guys. I'm grateful. There's no animosity, I'm grateful to have had them, So for some reason, okay, so this is like, I guess, a hardbound edition, even though it's newsstand. And then we also had this, where this is there was a newsstand and a direct market for both of these, but for some reason we had the a reprint, I guess, or something. The version of this that I guess I thought would have been on newsstands, and it's on, it's a different cover and it's on lower quality paper. So you could have, spent some money and got the nice one. This does have a little bit of a crease on it. Somebody has read this, but it's not horrible. That's why I'm very gingerly with these if I'd gotten them back in the day. And then we had this one. And for some reason, this book popped a few months ago, and I don't know why. So if you know, give me a yell. I mean, is it the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez? Was it Michael Keaton popping up in the Flash movie? If so, why was it this one and not the first movie? I don't know. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. So let's take a minute here. We're going to drink a coffee, and let's see what the comments have saying, because we made good time, and I'm having a good time. That's what we have here. Oh, don't get stubborn on me now. We've had a great. Here we go. Ooh, you guys are talking. I saw the word Booster Gold. All right. Yes, more admire. I still have the 2 issues of Big Numbers. As Tim knows, his Miracle Man and V from Vendetta were my introduction to put when I brought a Warrior magazine. Absolutely. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Great memories. Supreme won't be collected again because Liefeld lost the rights. I think he lost the rights to Youngblood too, and his attitude was like, "Yeah, I lost them." You know, it was very, very strange. You know, um, those more issues with Chris Sprouse and Rick Veitch are so good. I absolutely love them. I love them. But you've got to be a fan of Superman, though. I mean, he makes no bones about it. Oh, I still haven't seen any Booster Gold. Oh, the blue moon has not risen tonight. When it does, I'm sure he will pop up. Floating heads are awesome. Thank you, Eric Breen. Thank you. That used to be a thing back in the early days of the YouTube community. You had channels saying the floating heads. I mean, it was a thing. I figured you were a big fan since yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's Smotlock. Yeah, I've got him up here. Yeah. Wait, is Booster in that Crisis cover? No. Sadly, check this out. To be serious for a moment, Booster and Hal Jordan, neither one were in Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you really want to check out about the big heroes who are there, Booster was the first superhero in the new DC universe when Crisis ended. December of '85 is when Booster Gold #1 came out. He was the first hero. That I was like, that's the direction they decided to go when it came to heroes. Booster Gold was the first #1 comic, first new character after Crisis ended. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, it just gets worse and worse. You know what I mean? That's the exclamation point for Crisis. You know, I remember there being a big delay with the last issue of Crisis. Bought it as it came out along with Watchmen, which also had a delayed last issue. I knew about Watchmen being delayed. I didn't know about Crisis. But that kind of makes sense because, with this app and stuff, you'll see release dates. And then when I'll read comics, you can see comics that were coming out that week or that month in the inside cover sometimes or whatever. And I didn't realize there was ever a real delay, but it does make sense with my memory. Number 11, I got a hold of that on Halloween of '85, I guess, I think, but I know it was Halloween. There's a whole story for that I've told before and stuff, right? But I can't remember. I don't really remember the delays because every month was hell waiting for that book to come out. I mean, Crisis was on my mind quite a bit during that time, and if it was delayed, that explains why it's so fresh in my head, about, waiting month to month for that, because you didn't know where it was going. Nothing had been written like that before. You could not predict what was going to happen. They were killing characters. The stakes were real. You know what I mean? The Captain Strange life is the Godfather. Yep. Then there's a second guard, you, Bromstar, Tony, GPAP, the Legends. TiVo was to me the third wave. Ed and Nick Lords. Ed and Nick's been around that long? Wow. He will be missed. Absolutely. I think it's really important to keep things straight on when the people who started this, Captain Strange life, and everything that came afterwards, so the proper people get the proper credit for how this went on. I mean, there's oh God, who was it? Somebody brought it to my attention. I can't remember if they brought it to Captain Strangelife's attention, but there was some guy who was bold enough, which blew my mind, and he may still be doing it, to host the Comic Book Community Awards every year. First of all, it's YouTube. They can do what they want. You know what I mean? But if you look at the comic book community as a whole, the person who brought it to my attention, apparently there was a Lifetime Achievement Award going on, which I thought was kind of dumb. Because Lifetime Achievement is not, you can't get a Lifetime Achievement Award in just a few years. And they said and I saw people in there. Oh my God, who was it? I think it was Don the Comic Book Junkie had commented, how can you have a Lifetime Achievement Award without Howler Mouse and Captain Strangelife? And I had to be very careful there because when you're just typing, you don't want to be misconstrued. But if I set myself outside of it, Captain Strangelife is still making videos. I'm still making videos, live shows, whatever, stuff like that. Just the term Lifetime Achievement, when you've been doing it longer, with a certain amount of quality and knowledge and stuff, I'd be I'd be a contender. You know what I mean? But you can't just type that out or just come out real arrogant and stuff, right? So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons you just had people who for clout and they try to act like they took over the community. It's kind of like little kids who seem to think that the Earth has only been around for as long as they were able to start comprehending it. You know, when they were like 4, not realizing there was decades before and centuries before and history and stuff that they have to learn and stuff. They think everything that's happened has happened just now. That's how a lot of people who come in and out of these YouTube channels act. Like, you know, it started with them. You know, so yeah. Oh man. But like I said, I've learned to be very careful about what I comment on and stuff like that. And it's better just to kind of say it and put it out there. If I come out like sounding like an ass, I can own it that way. You know what I mean? Not just, you misunderstood me. No, this way I can be like, yeah, I said it, you know. Damn. That's right. We are so old. Yeah, we've been, yeah. And you know, Legend's been around forever. What were you doing, Legend? You were doing, I think you were doing toys, games, cooking, and comics, and I lost it. Video games. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to use that millennial and Gen Z friends. Oh, I knew what you were talking about, brother. No biggie. They are printing facsimile editions right now. There was a time those facsimile editions, when they started, were outselling the current comics, and Dan Didio lost his shit on a crowd, saying that we need to move forward, not look back. Quality is quality. If you want to move forward, you need to match or do more with the quality. Yeah, Kara forever, absolutely. Yeah, Kara is Supergirl, guys. Yep. Oh, I see what you're saying. They're putting out a facsimile editions. Yeah, I'm getting those right now as things are going on. Every month they're putting out a facsimile edition of Crisis on Infinite Earth. I think they're up to issue 3 or 4 or something. You can get a standard facsimile edition, or you can get a gold foil variant. I'm actually getting the gold foil variants. Yeah, they got me. They got me with this one. Yeah, here it is too. Everybody's telling you now. DC is putting out facsimile editions of each issues of Crisis right now. I decided to wait for the facsimile edition trade paperback. That's awesome. I have a beat up trade paperback of Crisis on Infinite Earth that I got out of an antique shop for $1. And the outside is kind of beat up, but the insides are creamy white. You know, the pages are well done, and it's so great to go back and read some of that stuff. Yes, Legends, we are comic crazy, but the golden age of YouTube comic community had the best content. That's why I couldn't watch cartoonist kayfabe and a lot of stuff that's going on now. We did it all. We set up the format. We came up with the terminology, and you know, time goes by, and young people like to have new things, and you know, try to be the rebels and stuff like that. And it's one of the few things that, except for how can I say this? You know, things like editing, the technology side of it, they got us. You know what I mean? But when it comes to the actual content, no. You know, the flair. There's so many mistakes. It blows my mind. I can't watch a lot of this stuff because they're so wrong. And not only are they wrong, but they have all the information in their hand if they would just look it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I met George Perez at the Superman celebration. He has had no one in his line. What? He had no one. Really? George Perez had no one at his line. Went a couple years later, and Amanda Condor was there with a huge line. Chris Spouse came 1 year too. Holy crap, man. Every time that I've seen George Perez somewhere, I only met him once, man. He had a line. But then again, Mike Mignola came to Heroes Con 1 year, and they had to set up, they had to actually set up bars. I'm trying to think what it is. They had to set it up to where he had a carpet, and they had like, oh God, what do you call them? Getting tired. Anyway, they had bars up to keep the line straight. The second time he came, I saw 3 or 4 people up there talking to him. I mean, just go show you. I don't know. That blows my mind. I've never seen George Perez not have a line. That blows my mind. Wow. I agree. More information in history, less about the speculation and money gimmicks. Well, you know, it's kind of hard to top us. You know what I mean? I mean, we got it all out there. Anything they bring up, we can school them on. That's what's sad, and not as in a competitive way, just because we're more knowledgeable. Superman Celebration, Metropolis, Illinois. That is. Oh, I'd love to go to that one year. Yeah. Parker Rizzo, when I joined YouTube, Legend, Comic Crack, Howler Mouse, Sleepy Reader, Oddfellow Thoughts, Tim Merritt, so many welcome and interesting channels. It was a great time to join. It was fantastic. Yeah. I'm kind of 1.5. I wasn't quite the first generation. I wasn't quite the second generation. I came in a unique way. Captain Strangelove and Constant Bromstar found my channel. I didn't know there was comic book channels on YouTube. And I've said it before, you can go back and look. But all I was doing is that I moved in with a girl I was dating and was just had limited room. So I was going to put all my comic book boxes in a huge closet we had. So I labeled each box 1 through, I don't know what it was, 10 or something like that. I made one video to show what was in each one of those comics. So I know which box to pull out for myself. And they found me that way. 6 or 7 months later, all these other comic book channels came on, and you can actually go back and look. See, this is all documented. You can look at the dates of my channels versus people like Sleepy Reader and Odd Comics Thoughts and Tim Merritt and all that stuff. That's how I know. And I finally found my footing properly with my She-Hulk video, my John Byrne She-Hulk video. For some reason, that's when it all came together for me. I don't know how it comes off to everybody else. But that was my first video that really popped properly, and I knew what I was doing. So yeah, great times, man. Oh, Chris Spouse had some original art from Armstrong for cheap. I couldn't kick myself. I didn't get a page. I got signed print. Man, there's been people on here whose whole houses were full of art. Lives in Florida. I can't think of his YouTube name, but I have him on my phone. I know him by his real name. He had some amazing art also. Yeah, I totally get it. Parker, the difference for me with Old Guard is that most of the content was based on people buying Silver and Bronze Age on the rack. They actually would read the books. Yeah, that's a big thing. Oh, I bought the Immortal Hulk and Omnibus. I have most of it in single issues, but missed some of the early keys. I hear you, brother. People, I don't think you've ever been around that long on my channel, but people had to talk me into checking the book out. And I finally sat down and told them, thank you for doing that. I was, and apologize for being so stubborn. To me, that book had the same quality of every book that was on the stand in 1989 or 90. Seriously. It's not that it was, yeah, seriously, that would have been 100,000. It didn't feel that special because I remember a time almost every book you got off the rack in we'll say mid 80s. Let's be nice. I'll back it up a little bit. Okay. You guys feel free to read some of these. We got to move along. There's a lot of great stuff in here. Speculation channels, destroying channels. Oh, you got to show this one. Tim inspired Gore to appreciate Booster Gold, you could say. Well, my job here is done, Gore. Okay, Parker, you've heard me say this before. For some reason, the people who were finding change in the couches and turning the bottles to buy Slurpees and comics off the rack have better grasp on the hobby. That was me. Yeah, I've told that story many times, getting on my 4 years old, 5 years old, on my little big wheel going around the neighborhood, finding bottles and stuff like that. It would be years later that I figured out a lot of the older people in the neighborhood were leaving those bottles out for me to find. I thought I was just finding them left and right on the weekends. Yeah, great stuff. Oh, Smotlock, if you really want to appreciate the jokes that are getting at me at Booster Gold, look up Why I Hate Booster Gold. It's about a 10-year-old video. I'll go on a rant for 20 minutes that could have been done in 5. Yeah, that is my most requested topic video. People requested that for 3 years before I broke down and did it. One of the few times I gave in to peer pressure. And look at who should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame versus who is. Award anything is always biased and limited to who's doing it. The awards I was talking to, and people were in agreement to a certain extent with me after I actually looked at it and watch some of the videos and stuff. It was a bunch of buddies stroking their buddies. It was all about friends. It was a clique thing. It wasn't something where they looked at the comic book community as a whole and did it on merit. And even when people were voting and stuff and making videos to promote themselves and stuff like that, it was was that dog and pony show. They already knew who was going to win. You know what I'm saying? What happened here? Oh, hold on, guys. We've had a technical difficulty. We've had a technical difficulty. Let me fix the phone. Somebody tried to call me, apparently. You can't put it on airplane mode when you do this. Oh, I know what happened. My phone died. I didn't plug it up. So, guys, now we're at to the bigger stuff here, right? It's just you and me, face to face here, right? Face to face, finishing this up, man. Cannot believe my phone died. How long have we been on here? We've been having a good time, right? So, anyway, Flash number 1. This was in my collection. This came out after Crisis on Infinite Earths. I don't know where it ever went, but this is Wally West in his first solo book. Mike Barron of Nexus writing this. Jackson Geist, Butch Geist, one of my favorite guys in comics who I love the fact that he's survived and thrived all these years. And he's a nice guy on Instagram and stuff, right? So anyway, yeah, I had this. I don't know where it went or where it disappeared to. Of course, the Mark Waid run is the run of that book. Now, everybody, I want you to take a breath while I want to show you this because, like I said, this came to $1. I can't believe it. This will be my third one. And for you guys for the people who are new-ish and new to the channel, Commandy by Jack Kirby, Starman by James Robinson, Tony Harris, and all the people that came after and stuff. I go back and forth with which is my absolute favorite book, right? Jack Kirby scared me as a kid. I came around during the Thunder the Barbarian cartoon, right? And this stuff was in my house. OMAC, Commandy, the Fourth World stuff, Forever People. I still have some of the Dad's New Gods and Jimmy Olsen and all that stuff and everything like that. And I came back around. So now we're getting to the real good stuff, right? So I now have a third Commandy number 1. And this is actually better than the 2 I have. Like I said, it came for $1. Speaking of comic book community history, my shtick basically is that I would bring up the Jack Kirby stuff all the time, and I would talk about Commandy and Atari Force, Sword of the Atom, Doom Patrol, Black Adam, everything that was sort of on the side. In the 90s, even Wizard in their toy fair had a thing, but in the 90s, if you were like into Commandy, like you went deep into some of this stuff, even the comic book collectors back then were like, whoa, like you were a little bit of a weird guy and stuff, right? So yeah, third Commandy number 1, and it actually Oddfellow's thoughts and somebody in there kind of tried to say that when he went to look for Commandy books, he saw them for years in dollar bins, and he blamed the comic book community talking about them in their videos, and everybody getting a number 1 to have clout back then raised the prices of Commandy. They're saying that we influenced the market to where Commandy books are worth money now. Who knows, right? Now, I want you to take a deep breath on this one, you guys from the Bronze Age, you Neil Adams fans, because I about fell down. And this is one of those things where low grade is better than no grade. And then you have this, because I really haven't sat down. It's connected to the staples, you know. I don't know what the color of the original cover was because it's showing like it's new print. But there are certain times where people are like, when did the Silver Age end and the Bronze Age end? Some people say that it was late 60s before the 70s when the Joker infiltrated the Justice League and Snapper Carr, Denny O'Neil made him turn around and, betray the Justice League. I, for one, feel like it should be Conan the Barbarian number 1 in 1970. And then there's 1 or 2 other events, but the big one is the death of Gwen Stacy. That was where it turned around. And then you have the people who, I get where they're coming from. I get why they're trying to say this, where we got things where social issues came in of the time, those hippie politics came in, and it made no sense why you would accuse a man who works with aliens and is all over space with different people of races and stuff like that, why you accuse him of being the closed-minded racist, all this stuff like that. But anyway, I ended up getting for $1 number 80 Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams on this book here. I've never seen this book. Well, excuse me, let me back up. I have these in reprint. I've never seen this cover, right? I don't know how this escaped me. So just as soon as I saw it, somehow I knew it was Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil. So yeah, that's yeah, these books are, it's not the classic covers there with old Speedy being a junkie and stuff like that, but there you go. We have an issue of that. And I actually needed this one. I have a thing where I will grab these 100-page giants because as a kid, that is where I got to see the reprints, the Golden Age stuff, the 50s age stuff, right? This is where, I mean, I love how you get these books with just full of everything in them and stuff, right? And you would get new stuff too, right? Well, right in the middle of my 100-page run of World's Finest, I was missing 225. Here it is for $1. And not only was it $1, but it's in better shape than the other ones that I have. These are fantastic. These 100-page giants, 80-page giants from the 70s are the way to go, right? So let's take a look at that real quick. Here's your Batman and Superman and a bunch of other stuff in there. Yeah. The Black Canary from the 40s. Meet Jimmy Olsen and the Robin team. The dozen disguises of Superman and Batman. And then you would get great Golden Age stuff of like the Vigilante. Okay, you see what I'm saying? And of course, you got to throw in a dinosaur, Yeah, Rip Hunter. Rip Hunter. Another one of my favorite characters. And I'm sure it was the Doctor Who influence as a kid that I was watching on PBS. They turned around and had Rip Hunter be the what was it during the New 52. I remember walking into Y2J year 2000 games, Y2K games, and my buddies in there who I ended up selling my Amazing Spider-Man 300 and first appearance of Moon Knight to, were real nervous about breaking the news. Now, they knew it was going to hurt. They also didn't know how I was going to react. So I feel like there was a little bit of fear and sorrow there when they had to reveal that the New 52 Rip Hunter was Booster Gold's dad. I mean, it just keeps coming. It just keeps coming with that son of a bitch. All right. So this one is the price variant. I have another one of these. Now, this is beat up. I was real sad to come in and see what the condition be. I haven't brought myself to take it out of the bag to look at it because when I got home, I saw that that's not a warped cover. There's a chance that that page is ripped out. I don't know, right? But this hurts because this is Flash Gordon. And you see that 50 cents? That is the variant. That is the variant of the Whitman Gold Key Flash Gordon books with a shark cover. If you saw, I bought these at an auction from a friend of mine who died. His collection, his family got talked into, instead of throwing out his collection, they put it on auction, and he ended up making probably over $100,000 or more is what I'm guessing, right? Easily. But I ended up getting his Flash Gordon collection that went through King Comics, Charlton Comics, Whitman Comics, all the way through. And when I was showing it off, I had some viewers let me know that check to see if it's a 50-cent variant. So that's a 50-cent variant back when you had to get these in 3-packs. You couldn't control when they couldn't get them off the stand. And this is my third one of this book. And this was my favorite. This is probably the first John Byrne book I can recall. This is the first Avengers book that was current that I was reading. And the Yesterday Quest in the Avengers is still one of my favorite Avengers story, if not the story. And it's not just the nostalgia. It really holds up, right? And this is my third issue. I should have 3 copies of each one. The Stepdad's copies, the ones I acquired, and now this one. And I'm missing one of these. It's not in the Avengers box. I'm finding 4 or 5 of my books, probably because I pulled them out for videos or something, or not where they're supposed to be. And that blows my mind. Teen Titans Annual #1, I can't find. This book I can't find, even though I have a beat up copy in there, which is the Stepdad's. The upgrade I bought was this, but I got this for $1. And this is mid-grade. So I have a low grade, mid-grade, high grade, right? But it is the third part of the Avengers Yesterday Quest, 186. I absolutely love this story. There's just so much random stuff in there. The Knights of Wundagore, Beast riding around and looking like a Knights of Wundagore. We got the High Evolutionary. We got Dark Magic Cthulhu, or whatever the crap is. Oh no, the Darkhold, excuse me, or whatever. Mordred the Mystic. Just so much random stuff in this, right? I mean, we got Island of Dr. Maru through the High Evolutionary, and our callback to his knights, and the Wonder Man is in his costume that I found out people hate, that I think isn't that bad, and he's wrecking the Quinjet. And then we have like marionette puppets of Scarlet Witch with a soul in them. and then you find out who their parents, and you find out Magneto is the parents of Quicksilver and Silver Witch. And when they were part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants in the 60s, you were like, oh my God, that was a perfect soap opera moment for you. Okay. Now, these books, I could have kicked myself. I went ahead and got them. They were hot. It's the first appearance of Lilith, first appearance of the Midnight Suns. And it was a rough, very rough, I considered, I hated everything about it, to where I just ignored it. I wasn't worried about it. There was too much going on. But they did this Rise of the Midnight Suns. And a couple months ago, this book went off the charts and stuff. And I could have kicked myself because I just kept the first 3 issues in the glow in dark cover of Ghost Rider, right? But I found 2 issues of number 28 of Ghost Rider. First appearance of Lilith, first appearance of the Midnight Suns. Then we had Spirits of Vengeance, where we had Danny Keach and Johnny Blaze, the 2 Ghost Riders coming together and all this stuff. And then you had a Morbius. I don't know if I have the Morbius number 1, but these books, it was like, we're kind of going to be Vertigo, but we're not going to be Vertigo. They came out with all these books that were supposed to be horror titles and Darkhold and stuff like that. And it just wasn't there. You know what I mean? It was sort of like, we're going to have PG-13 horror is what it felt like from what I remember. And it disappeared quickly. So it blew my mind that those books went up when I couldn't give them away, And then we come up with this one. See, the universe takes care of me. I talk about missing out on things. I talk about being nice and giving things, and it kind of seems to even out. I feel like I even out. I'm like Jerry Seinfeld when it comes to this earth. Anyway, but years ago, I still run into the same people at the same cons, vendors and people buying. And one year I went against what I usually did. I went out to explore first before I went to the people that I knew, a vendor I knew who had always good stuff, great prices. I got my issues 2 through 11, I think, of Forever People off of him. I got many things over him over the years with keys, great prices. I mean, we're talking dollar box prices and stuff, right? And then I ran into a guy who was really nice. He watches the channel. He may still be watching now. He'll know who he is when I show this book, if he remembers and stuff. But he got me. He got in front of me. You know what I mean? I went around to see, checking the out instead of doing what I normally did, right? And I looked down and he had this book. My brother had this book. I had this book. So it was more of a thing of like, I sold it to my brother. So I'm trying to get at, and I wish I'd kept it. But it's the first appearance of the New Warriors proper, and Act of Vengeance, and Thor versus the Juggernaut. I loved this story. I don't know if it holds up or not, right? So that guy was in front of me, and I looked over, and on his stack of keys that he had, this was right on top. And that's actually, I had a plan. I was going to find this book. Well, I found one, I don't know, sometime over the last few years in a dollar box. Well, this is an upgrade in a newsstand copy if you're into that thing. So I now have 2 of these. I'm telling you, just patience. You know what I mean? I got one more book to show. It may or may not blow you away. It's not a super huge key by any means, but it's one of the books I read as a kid that I absolutely loved, and it got its own little facsimile edition. Well, not facsimile edition, but it was $1. They reprinted it as one of those Marvel dollar books for you, right? But let's look at the rest of these, and let me rest my voice for a minute, and we'll do this. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We read that one. Okay. There are very good new channels like John Comics. Of course, this is a good channel. You need to check it out. Okay. John Comics with Kids, Gary B, the Casual Guy, JP Budget Collects, the Comic Book G Spot. Oh my God. Wasn't ready for that. The Comic Book G Spot. Okay. We'd still talk about comic content. Fantastic, man. I wonder why those don't pop up in my algorithm and stuff like that. Jay Lucian, good morning, guy. What's up? Oh, we've been going for almost 3 hours, man. It's flown by. I'm glad DC finally got all of the Giffen and Manny's Justice League collected with the Omnibus Volume 3. DC really needs to collect a lot more Giffen stuff like Ambush Bug and Legion of Superheroes. Again, I agree with you. There is an Ambush Bug. Where's it at? I don't have it. Showcase Presents, where it's all black and white. I remember seeing that, I think. It's out there, but I have multiple copies of the Legion of Substitute Heroes one shot. I mean, they're all in dollar bins. You just got to know what you're looking for. But yeah, I agree. It should be collected. Do they have an ambush bug collected showcase? Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe I'm having a Manila effect. I finally got Commandy on my shelf. Bought the 2 thick trades. Oh, right here are mine. Yep, I have several. Yeah, love those. They're turning yellow, so I've bagged them again. I should have known. The newsprint paper feels so right, but they're going to turn yellow. So hopefully you'll be able to maybe do something to get away from that. I think I have watched the Booster Gold rant. Actually agreed with many of your points. The guy is a thief, but there's something about the way Giffen wrote him with the Blue Beetle. Loved. Yeah, he's a loser. You know, that's what gets me. He's got the origin and the mannerisms of a villain. He should turn villain one day. You know, he should have turned villain to begin with. You know. All right, Rip Hunter has a pretty cool son. You're killing me. You're killing me. Oh, man. Oh, we are the lucky generation. All the Silver Age, then Adams, Byrne, Miller, Perez, Moore, the rise of independence, Turtles, Love, Rockets. What has come out to rival those books recently? Exactly. That's what's getting me. That's what's getting me. And then there's like books like Cerebus that got discovered twice. The people who were there, the people in the 90s, thanks to Spawn and that Zero issue, and then the people who heard about it finally reaching 300. You know what I mean? There's just, I don't know, man. It's just the whole thing there's just stuff going on. It ebbed and flowed. You know what I mean? I read modern stuff 75% of the time. I prefer it. Nice. Okay. See, now this is the thing. It does not matter what I rant about. There are very few hills I will die on when somebody disagrees with me, right? If you can go out there and find books today that you enjoy and read, congratulations, more power to you and stuff. Because I know it's not all bad, but my God, even digging, it's like, to me, things don't seem to maintain when I do find something good. You know what I mean? I'm like, I found a good issue. It wasn't a good series. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn it, you know. Booster Gold should have joined up with Max Lord and made a supervillain team. That is a book I would buy, Paolo, right there. So the last book that I have here, Fantastic Four in the house, was interesting when I was a kid, right? The old man, the stepdad, Dr. Doom was the end all be all. Kiss was the end all be all. So when you had Dr. Doom and Kiss meet in that Marvel Super Special #1, you could tell, you know, it was an event in the house and stuff, right? So that led to Fantastic Four, and I showed you the facsimile edition last time that I found. I finally got 2 of them. The facsimile edition got me stuck on this. The Marvel Treasury edition of Fantastic Four reprints Fantastic Four 120 to 124, where we have the new Herald of Gabriel the Airwalker and the Silver Surfer coming in, and Galactus again, because they got stuck with a thing where you could predict who the villain was because they got caught in a loop there, if you will. So all of a sudden there's Fantastic Four in the house, and this book got me. High Evolutionary is one of my favorite Kirby designs and characters, right? The Crisis books I showed you, the Human Evolutionary is what inspired the Monitor and Anti-Monitor's look from Perez and stuff. Mark Wolfman talked about it and stuff, right? Anyway, so just imagine being a kid and you see all this great stuff, and you see a cover like this where the High Evolutionary is going at it against Galactus. Fantastic Four 175. I don't know what happened to this book from the old man's collection, but I got one a few years ago, and it's really odd. This is in better shape, but it's a bit discolored. I think it was in a bag too long. So I have two books. One was in better shape, yet I don't know. It's very confusing. So it's very cool to get this, right? This was one of those books I read around the time. Now, I'm not saying it came out at the same time. I'm saying it was in the stack on a rainy Sunday at the same time, where I'm reading the Yesterday's Quest, and I'm reading Marv Wolfman. Was this Perez? I don't know, Joe and Inks. But, you know, we got Galactus and the High Evolutionary going at it like that. And I'm pretty sure it's on Counter Earth, if you knew about that. So we're even tying into some cosmic stuff by Starlin there. Nope, completely wrong. Roy Thomas, John Buscema. And this is one of the images from comics that's embedded in my head, standing in the air, pointing a finger at him, saying, "Oh no, you didn't." That's not really what it says, but I think this is a fantastic comic, man. It's got everything, and the way that Galactus went out, I had to read and reread that to try to understand what I was reading, and I was like, "Whoa!" Now the reason I thought it was Marv Wolfman is it's all coming back to me. Marv Wolfman was writing Fantastic Four in 1979 when I would have been reading this. And in 1979, we were past issue 200 and we were having the Fantastic Four age rapidly and they had to go across the universe so they could find Galactus to take on the Sphinx or whoever it was and stuff. They needed somebody like that. And they had to hurry up and find them before they aged to death, grew old and died, a la the Star Trek episode, if you know what I'm saying. And Marv Wolfman was writing those. So I was reading that with a big stack of Fantastic Four comics. So in my head, I had a pretty good run there. It's a great time to be alive reading those when you're 6 and 7 years old, the good stuff. All right. Hey, ever read must read everything? Okay, I got you, Pilgrim. Okay, they're moving. People are adding comments here, so something's going on. They're updating. I've read most everything on your shows, but current comics intrigue me. Gotcha. Like I said, peace, man. I mean, in your hobby, your money, yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think you've watched me enough. You know what I'm saying. I do have that Ambush Bug showcase, but the colors are so good that the material, I'd love new readers to read it. It might be a bit dated through many of the references. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. But the thing is I've pointed out the reason I have never really jumped on the Deadpool thing is when it comes to breaking the fourth wall and the jokes and even the fact that he has a costume that covers everything, it's Ambush Bug. I've read it before. When they started doing that with him, it was Ambush Bug. Even when She-Hulk was doing breaking the fourth wall, and Ambush Bug, I'm sure, was not the first character to break the fourth wall. So when I was reading the jokes and the quips and the smart ass mouth and stuff, I'm going back to DC Comics Presents with Superman and the Legion of Superheroes with Ambush Bug, getting caught in Superman's cape and ended up being sent 1,000 years in the future as well. The Legion of all the everything, the miniseries and everything like that. Deadpool to me was like they're just making him into Ambush Bug. And I still, if you like the Deadpool movies, then you would like the Ambush Bug stuff if they made an Ambush Bug movie, if they made it in the same vein, So yeah, when I watch Deadpool, all that comes to my head is bam, that, you know what I'm saying? All right. The Great Legend. What's up, brother? Damn, he tied that into the no. Yeah, thank you. I tied that no, he didn't into the thumbnail. That's right. Just like George Carlin Strange, bring it back to the beginning. You got to book in this stuff sometimes, man. When you go on these rants and these videos, you got to bring it together. Thanks, brother. Oh, you did not, Legend. Oh my God, that's why it's updated. The Ambush Bug Showcase is out of print. Wow, $40 for it. Oh my God, Legend, thank you so much for the generosity, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for spending your time with us this morning. May God bless you and your family. Same to you, brother. And thank you so much, man. I appreciate that very much, man. You humble me, sir. You humble me, and bless you and your family as well. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you too, Legend. I'm so glad you're still around here, man. James D did a great Guardian movie, except the way Morlock and the High Evolutionary were portrayed. They are so much more interesting in the books. The actor who was supposed to be playing the High Evolutionary won me over, but I don't know who that character was he was playing. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what that character was, but it was a great character, great acting. Now, as far as his Adam Warlock goes, I need another update on where that character is at to see if he eventually grows up and turns into Adam Warlock. I had to make a lot of peace with that. Making him a dumbass Superman is basically what they did. So I'm hoping it's where we have an adult body with a child mind. Maybe one day he will grow up to be Warlock. But like I said, the High Evolutionary, that actor won me over. That was a fantastic character, but that was not High Evolutionary. All right. I don't care for the Deadpool comics. I agree that Ambush Bug did it better in the comics, as did Burning She-Hulk. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I got you, brother. Again, thank you, great legend. Like I said, I'm very humble. I'm just going to say thank you again. I appreciate that so much. That is awesome. Everybody check out the great legend on his show and wish him a great day. Parker Rizzo, Smotlock, Pilgrim, Breen, John C., Comic Crack, Gore Vidal, Paolo Costo. Thanks to everybody that's on here. I don't want to leave out any names. 62 Lefty Blues, Knights of Old. I'm just flying through here, man. You guys made so many great comments. I hope they pop back up on the rerun. But you guys be excellent to each other. We have spent 3 hours, 2 minutes, and 9 seconds as we speak right now together this morning, and I would not have wanted to spend it with anybody else. I got to tell you, man. So keep reading your comics and keep reading those comics, and let's be excellent to each other, and let's all go get some lunch now. All right. Everybody be excellent to each other. Bye.